Hello, John. Thank you for the resubscribe. Was it your Prime? Did you resubscribe with your Prime? Thank you, John. Get those trash ads out of my princess's stream. No ads. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everybody? Let me, before I forget, let me put a kissy mark on my face. Oh. And there we go. Thank you, John. Here is your kiss. Sorry if it was a very wet kiss, duo. And let me get slightly, hold on. I'm just gonna, I need to mess with my proportions here. Okay, I will get wide. There. Thank you, John. Let me mark you on the thingy. John, ya boy. 1 sub. Let me edit the total here. Oh my goodness. Hello, welcome in, Cowboy Chow. Thank you for the raid. Hello, hello. 8. I can't math right now. Hold on. I need to do a calculator. 1, 2, 6 plus 2.5. Okay. I thought that was the right amount, but I wasn't sure. And then O. Alright, sorry. Hello, Raiders. Welcome in. My name is Princess. I'm a variety VTuber here on Twitch. And today we are doing some ASMR bedtime stories. So I guess it'll just be a lot of this with the background music. I don't really ever do ASMR audios, but let me know if I should be reading louder, if I should be reading softer. But welcome in. Starting at the top. Hello, Ash. Beep boop. Beep boop back to you, Ash. Hello. Floppy says, my curry turned out just okay. Now I have to eat just okay for 3 meals. Wow, only 3 meals? When I make curry, it's like a whole week and a half of meals. I'm sorry though, Floppy. Hi, Muffin. Welcome in. How are you? Stop exposing my Prime subs, says John. I got D-Day right now, so I'm gonna lurk. Wish me luck. Oh, good luck on your date day, duo. Unless you mean something else, then that's unsafe-so, and you need to get out of here. Hi, Cap. Thank you for the head pat. Welcome in. Prime subs are valid subs. They are. Wet kiss. Wet kiss, best kiss. Duo's having a D-Day. D-Day. As wide as the meme I made? I was so wide in your meme, Ash. I'm only calling it D-Day here. Otherwise, expectations might be had. Welcome in, Cowboy Chow. I'm sorry, you guys raided in just as we were starting. Welcome in. Raiding in with Cowboy. Hi, Rosca. Hi, Akira. Welcome, welcome. The wet kiss is to symbolize the 2 feet of snow we had over here last week. Princess doesn't care about my curry, it's fine. I literally just talked about your curry. What the heck, Floppy? Apparently Princess does too. Oh, okay. Hi, Rosca. Suggested to raid you since I wanted to get our voice cast we have to meet you. So yay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Akira is making a game and putting it together. And KP got me in touch with Akira, and I'm going to be voicing one of the characters in the game. So I gotta get working on that so that Akira can choose which voice to use. Fellow game dev, hi, says Ash. Cowboy voices Crow in our game, so he's a fellow party member. 10 minutes without Princess's attention is too much, says Floppy. I see. 10 minutes is too much for Floppy. I gotta make a reminder to myself. Cannot ignore Floppy for longer than 10 minutes. Okay. Let's see. How would you guys prefer we do bedtime ASMR? Should we like have a setting change? Should we not be in my regular room? Should I like have like a more intimate bedtime setting? Look, I shall return. No worries, Ash. Thank you. Should we have like a more... Oh no, my nice note entry. What do you mean? Is it almost your birthday? Today is not your birthday. It's a nice note. It's not a death note. It's a nice note. It's a nice note. Okay. Let me find perhaps something to put on this as the background for our very cozy bedtime. I don't know that there's something that I can find like this quickly. What do you guys think? I feel like I would want it to be like nighttime, right? Keep telling yourself that. We all know the truth and we are voluntarily in it. You know, I should have maybe thought about this before stream, but let's see how quickly I can craft something up for you guys. I have one for like reading for Christmas, but I don't have one, you know, just for like a regular thing. So let's see if I can... Okay, I was like, did I delete the wrong thing? Cozy background. What have you guys been up to? How's the week been for you? Cowboy Chow, what were you doing? Let me give you a shout out. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Sorry. So many things going on. Hold on. Nope. Awesome. Great. Let me just finish this and then I can... then I can get to doing the shout out. Okay, let me give you a shout out here. Persona 3. I've been running through Persona 3 Reload. Just did a quick stream today. Gotcha, gotcha. And how was stream? I've never played any of the Persona games, so I don't know, you know, what it's all about. Delete this. Let's where's the other chat? Is it browser source? This one? Ah, here we are. Okay. We'll just put you there. And then get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. It was alright. I highly recommend them. Possibly my fave series. I heard Persona 5 is like a really, really long raid. Sorry, I saw the word raid and I was like, yes, raid. A really long game. That's crazy. How long, what's like the playthrough? Like time to beat? What's time to beat for something like that? Okay, let's move this up here. Maybe. I'm gonna, maybe, what if I make myself extra large on this one? I make myself big. Will I scare you guys if I'm too big? How will this work? Maybe let's... You guys can't see what I'm doing behind the scenes. I'm sorry. It's not making sense yet. I'm saying words. I'm just saying words and nothing is happening. Hold on. I'm like moving my whole scene around. Um, but where is the thing? Okay, let me put this, oops, behind here. And if I make myself big like this, and then I put this here. Oh, it needs to be way bigger. Okay, are you guys ready for me to get very large on your screen with no explanation of why we've transported ourselves to a different room? Lord, very large. Vito Ian, thank you for the resubscribe. Almost 150 when trying to 100%, 100 hours and focusing on main objectives. That's crazy. Thank you, Beetle Ian, for the resubscribe. Let me add a kiss mark on my face. Thank you, thank you. And we'll put you over on this side. Can I make you yours smaller? Oh, it's not too tiny. It's cute. Let's put you right over. Oh, right there. Thank you, Beetle Ian. Here is your kiss. And let me make myself wider. Okay, and then let me add you to the spreadsheet here. 1 sub. And then let me edit the goal here. Two is 31. 5 update. There we go. Let me just reset myself so that I'm here. And then let me move myself down. Okay, are you guys ready? I'm gonna become super large. Okay. Nice, kissing the glasses. Hi, I'm big now. Thank you for the follow. Wait, can you guys hear that? Or was that... I think you guys could hear that. I think we need to turn that off. How do I turn that off? Whoa. I'm big? That was audible? Ah, okay. But I muted everything. How can you guys hear it if I muted everything? Am I... If I do monitor off? Then maybe I won't hear anything now? Perhaps? This is so Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay, wait, I can make it even more intimate. Okay, hold on. What if I make it slightly darker? Let's see, what can we do here? What can we do? Do we want like an orangey? Ooh, okay. Like orange-ish. That's magenta. That's not orange. How do these sliders work? Hello? These sliders aren't working very well. Oh, you know what it is? It's, the computer is working very hard right now. Oh, it's not a slider, it's just a click. Alright, what if I just click around? Surely we'll get something that's usable, right? What do you guys think? Slightly orangey, we're comfy, we're cozy, we're toasty? Just princess. Should I do like slightly darker? That's maybe too dark. That's slightly scary. Okay, maybe that's okay. I don't know. How do you know about this part of DDLC if you don't do horror games? I've never played DDLC. Why does it just look normal now? Hi, we're slightly dark. Okay, maybe this will work. Okay, so today, we're here in this nice Japanese tatami room. And I'm going to read some bedtime stories to you. And we're going to read some chat requests. So Floppy has requested that I read the 300-word fanfic that Toby Fox wrote for Sans. Is it Sans or is it like pronounced a different way? Is Sans the correct pronunciation? That's right, Sans. Okay. I like how like the VOD is just gonna be me setting up for the first like 30 minutes. Okay, so I did follow the link that Floppy gave me. And the title of this news article is Toby Fox wrote a fanfic to explain why Undertale Sans is the ultimate Tumblr sexy man. Okay. I still don't know what the heck a Tumblr sexy man is. Don't be tricked by the random ad break thingy in the middle of the article. Oh, okay, I see. So I keep going. The end is not, the results are revealed. Hello, LJ. Welcome in. Hello, hello. Gotta do some post-stream stuff. I'll be lurking, of course, Cowboy Chow. I hope you have a good lurk. Thank you so much for the raid in, and Akira, thank you so much for recommending me for Cowboy Chow to raid into. If you guys have been playing video games and hanging out with Cowboy Chow for a while, please make sure to take care of yourselves. You know, get up and stretch your legs, get some snacks, get some water, or the beverage of your choice, and we will be here, you know, reading. So if you guys want a nice place to fall, you know, asleep to, we'll be here. Okay. I'm gonna read the introduction as well, because it explains what a sexy man is, which, you know, I don't really know what a sexy man is. Okay, so let's go. It says, the kids these days have all sorts of memes, and most of them scare and confuse me. Forgive me then, that it took me a while to figure out the precise meaning of the semi-annual Sexy Man Showdown, a Twitter-hosted competition between various beautiful fictional men for the title of Ultimate Tumblr Sexy Man. A Tumblr sexy man, my many hours of research tell me, is pretty much just a sexy man, but on Tumblr? A sexy man on Tumblr, but crucially, one with a sizable and oh so vocal fan base. The point of the showdown is to put all these faves against one another in a merciless, sexy popularity contest. Hold on, where's my chapstick? I want some chapstick. This is a questionable line of thought to enter stream to. Welcome in, Swordsman of the East. We're reading about Sans, the ultimate Tumblr sexy man. She needs more chapstick after all that smooching. It's true. I'm smooching a lot of people, so I gotta put some chapstick on. Anyway, suffice it to say that the winner of this year's bracket was, by the skin of his skeletal teeth, Sans Undertale, who went up against Mob Psycho 100's Reagan and came away with a nail-biting 50.1% of the overall vote. Despite clamor for a second referendum, Sans won the day. We know why, too. Because Undertale's creator Toby Fox wrote a 300-plus word fanfic detailing the pulse-pounding final minutes of the vote. You can read it in its full, baffling glory below. Okay, hold on. I skipped too far ahead. No, my boy Reagan, says R. Having cheated his way to the last round of the competition, Reagan finds himself face to face with Sans, who got there by doing literally nothing. Although Reagan had an early lead, he decides if he wants to cinch this, he's going to have to collude with his competition. He's surprised when Sans, who was entered in the contest unwittingly by his brother, he didn't know what the competition was for, is glad to help him win free of charge. They both run a series of debates where Reagan dismantles Sans by proving how utterly unattractive he is. As the debate continues, Reagan puts on boy band style makeup and works out to become extra attractive. However, mysteriously, Sans' vote only seems to be increasing despite this. Sans mentions that Reagan forgot that being unattractive is one of the key tenets of becoming a popular guy on Tumblr. Emotionally crushed that he possibly ever wasn't actually attractive at all, Reagan considers falling out of the competition. However, he's cheered up by Mob, who says that Reagan should remember what he taught him. He should have confidence regardless of what anyone thinks of him. On the final day of the campaign, Reagan shows up with rings under his eyes, a 5 o'clock shadow, and a dad bod. Without saying anything, he takes out a sandwich on stage and stuffs it into his mouth. He follows up with his special attack, putting his fingers in his mouth like that one picture of Peter from Spider-Verse. The audience cheers, and Reagan's pawing makes a massive comeback. In the end, the results are revealed. Sans won by a single vote. Reagan can't believe it. 1 vote? How could he lose by 1 vote? Even that stupid skeleton voted for him. Mom shows up and says offhand that since Tumblr sexy men are unattractive, he wanted Reagan to have self-confidence, not rely on what other people think of him. Therefore, he voted for Sans. Reagan doesn't know how to feel about this. That was the end of the fanfic. The article goes on to say it's pretty involved, but it eventually turns out that the key to being a sexy man is not to be sexy at all, which is great news for me. And Reagan was brought low by his conventional attractiveness. It's genuinely a funny read, even if you're as frightened and lost as I am amid the Tumblr memery. And it's great to see a story developer like Fox poke his head up randomly to beef up the lore of what is, essentially, a long series of Twitter polls. It also raises an interesting question. Is this Undertale canon? I mean, the creator of a character writing something about that character is technically fiction, not fanfiction. No one was prepared for this. Either way, it's all we're gonna get from Fox for a while, because the creator recently told us we won't be getting a new chapter of Deltarune this calendar year. Still, don't fret. You can get a taste of the new chapters and their new music in a recent update on the Deltarune blog. And if that's not enough, you can always revisit the classic first entry in the series with a friend, using the co-op mode that came out last month. After all, isn't friendship the true meaning of the semi-annual Sexy Man Showdown? Thank you, Floppy, for requesting the Sans Undertale Sexy Man Tumblr competition. What should we read next? What are some popular SCPs that I can read off for you guys? That was certainly a trip. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. We'll be reading stories all night. The Plague Doctor. Toby Fox's Sans X Reagan Valentine's Day art is still the second most liked art on his account. That's hilarious. Okay. So this is SCP-049. Is that what you want? Thank you, mysterious benefactor, for this gift to us all. All right. This one, oh, okay. That just zoomed into the picture and made me scared for a second. I'm on the website for SCP-049. It is the most popular one that jumped into my mind, at least. Okay, we'll read this one. Hopefully my webcam tracking can recognize me. I wish I got, there's been this new model that a lot of people have been talking about on Twitter, and I was like, what if I became 2D instead of 3D for a day? But the model is like $100-something, and while super worth it, right? Like, I don't have the $100-something to buy that model. It's like a customizable kind of like build your own model. But maybe later this year. I don't know. I quite like my 3D model. I don't know. I like her. She looks cute. Okay. Let's start. This is... Oh, there's some audio. It's okay. I will read the audio as well so that... This is quite long. All right, are you guys ready? All right, this is SCP-049. Should I write what we're reading? Let's do text. But welcome in, swordsman. Where did you find us, by the way? What text should I use? Should I do... Is that too thin? Extra bold? Perhaps that is too small. Okay. What if I... properties, and I put in a outline, and we outlined it in pink because pink is my favorite color, Okay, what if we put it right there? Frequent viewer of his, and you raid a lot. Oh, actor Pat, we love Pat. Thank you very much for checking out my channel. I remember my first SCP creature. While I don't watch them too much these days, they're interesting, but they still freak me out. I think that's kind of the point, is they're slightly creepy, right? I do have like some water on the side too. You're welcome, boss lady. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. All right. Item number SCP-049. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-049 is contained within a standard secure humanoid containment cell in Research Sector 02 at Site 19. SCP-049 must be sedated before any attempts to transport it. During transport, SCP-049 must be secured within a Class 3 humanoid restriction harness, including a locking collar and extension restraints, and monitored by no fewer than 2 armed guards. Actually, should we be having music? I feel like this music is too incongruent with what we're reading. Perhaps no music. Every time I mouse over the picture, it wants to zoom in, and I get kind of scared. I'm scaring myself. All right. If you guys want to put any background music on, feel free. But I guess for my stream, there will be no background music. But, if you guys wanted, you guys could put like some rain and some fireplace cracklings to make it extra cozy. Okay. While SCP-049 is generally cooperative with most Foundation personnel, outbursts or sudden changes in behavior are to be met with elevated force. Under no circumstances should any personnel come into direct contact with SCP-049 during these outbursts. In the event SCP-049 becomes aggressive, the application of lavender, L. multifida, has been shown to produce a calming effect on the entity. Once calmed, SCP-049 generally becomes compliant and will return to containment with little resistance. In order to facilitate the ongoing containment of SCP-49, the entity is to be provided with the corpse of a recently deceased animal, typically a bovine or other large mammal, once every 2 weeks for study. Corpses that become instances of SCP-049-2 are to be removed from SCP-49's containment cell and incinerated. SCP-049 is no longer permitted to interact with human subjects, and requests for human subjects are to be denied. Entity, I hate that word when I have to say it. Why? It's a very fun word to say. Entity. Temporary Containment Procedure Update. See Addendum 049.3.3. Per Containment Committee Order 049.S19.17.1, SCP-049 is no longer permitted to interact directly with any members of Foundation staff, nor is it to be provided with any additional corpses to be used in its surgeries. This order shall persist indefinitely, until such a time a consensus regarding the ongoing containment of SCP-049 can be reached. Description: SCP-049 is a humanoid entity, roughly 1.9 meters in height, which bears the appearance of a medieval plague doctor. While SCP-49 appears to be wearing the thick robes and the ceramic mask indicative of that profession, the garments instead seem to have grown out of SCP-049's body over time, and are now nearly indistinguishable from whatever form is beneath them. X-rays indicate that despite this, SCP-049 does have a humanoid skeletal structure beneath its outer layer. SCP-049 is capable of speech in a variety of languages, though tends to prefer English or medieval French. While SCP-049 is generally cordial and cooperative with Foundation staff, it can become especially irritated or at times outright aggressive if it feels that it is in the presence of what it calls the pestilence. Although the exact nature of this pestilence is currently unknown to Foundation researchers, it does seem to be an issue of immense concern to SCP-049. Because my French ass is struggling to say this properly in English, entity. I wonder why it's hard for French speakers to say entity. Entity. SCP-049 will become hostile with individuals it sees as being affected by the pestilence, often having to be restrained should it encounter such. If left unchecked, SCP-049 will generally attempt to kill any such individuals. SCP-049 is capable of causing all biological functions of an organism to cease through direct skin contact. How this occurs is currently unknown, and autopsies of SCP-049's victims have invariably been inconclusive. SCP-049 has expressed frustration or remorse after these killings, indicating that they have done little to kill the pestilence, though will usually seek to then perform a crude surgery on the corpse using the implements contained within a black doctor's bag it carries on its person at all times. Probably a tongue thing. It's not natural to say the word in an English format. Not just any ordinary French. I mean, John, you dumb. No, don't say that about yourself. While these surgeries are not always successful, they often result in the creation of instances of SCP 049 2. SCP 049 2 instances are reanimated corpses that have been operated on by SCP 049. These instances do not seem to retain any of their prior memories or mental functions, having only basic motor skills and response mechanisms. While these instances are generally inactive, moving very little, and in a generally ambulatory fashion, they can become extremely aggressive if provoked or if directed to by SCP 049. SCP 049 2 instances express active biological functions, though these are vastly different from currently understood human physiology. Despite these alterations, SCP 049 often remarks that the subjects have been cured. John, you genius! Exactly, Floppy. Exactly. Addendum 049.1 Discovery. SCP 049 was discovered during the investigation of a series of unknown disappearances in the town of Montauban in southern France. During a raid on a local home, investigators found several instances of SCP 049 2, as well as SCP 049. While law enforcement personnel engaged the hostile 049 2 instances, SCP 049 was noted as watching the engagement and taking notes in its journal. After all of the 049 2 instances were dispatched, SCP 049 willingly entered Foundation custody. The following interview was conducted by Dr. Raymond Ham during the initial investigation. Interviewer, Dr. Raymond Ham, Site 85. Interviewee, SCP 049. Begin log. SCP 049. In French. Oh, what voice should I give SCP? Should I give it my princess voice? Sorry, taking this moment to drink some water. Okay. So then, how should we begin? An introduction? Dr. Ham, aside, is that French? Can we get a translator? And now this is in English. The King's English. No need for translation, sir. I can speak it well enough. Good. My name is Dr. Raymond Ham, and I... Ah, a doctor. A like-minded individual, no doubt. Wherein is your specialty, sir? Cryptobiology. Why... A medical man such as myself. Wonders abound. And here I worried I had been abducted by common street thugs. This place, then. This is your laboratory. I had wondered, as clean as it is, and with such little trace of the pestilence here. The pestilence? What do you mean? The scourge, the great dying. Come now, you know, what is it they call it? No matter. The pestilence. Yes, it abounds outside these walls, you know. So many have succumbed, and many more will continue to until such time as a perfect cure can be developed. Fortunately, I am very close. It is my duty in life to rid the world of it, you see. The cure to end all cures. When you say the great dying, are you talking about the bubonic plague? I don't know what that is. I see, right. Well, the entities our agents encountered at that house, they were dead when you encountered them, yes? And you reanimated them. In a manner of speaking. You see things too simply, Doctor. Expand your horizons. Life and death. Sickness and health. These are amateur terms for amateur physicians. There is only one ailment that exists in the world of men, and that is the pestilence, and nothing else. Make no mistake, they were very ill, all of them.
You think you cured those people?
Indeed, my cure is most effective.
The things we recovered were not human.
Yes, well, it is not a perfect cure, but that will come with time and further experimentation. I have spent a lifetime developing my methods, Dr. Ham, and will spend a lifetime more if necessary. Now, we have wasted too much time. There is work to do. I will require a laboratory of my own, one where I can continue my research unimpeded, and assistance, of course, though I can provide those on my own, in time.
I don't think our organization will be willing to.
Nonsense. We are all men of science. Fetch your coat and show me to my quarters, Doctor. Our work begins now.
End log.
Interviewer's notes. While SCP-049 is capable of communicating in a very human way, there is a strange sense of unease that one experiences when in its presence. Make no mistake, there is something very uncanny about this entity indeed. Additionally, we've confiscated that pointed stick that SCP-049 keeps waving around. Part of this was due to standard confiscation protocols for the possessions of anomalies, and part because 049 really is a menace swinging it around like he does. The entity was displeased at first, but after we made some concessions in providing it with test subjects, which are admittedly more for the benefit of our own research, it warmed up to the idea. Addendum 049.2 Observation Log. While in containment at Site 19, SCP-049 has spent a considerable amount of time studying and performing surgery on the various mammalian corpses it has been provided. SCP-049 will routinely spend several days performing surgery and then, regardless of whether or not the corpses become an instance of SCP-049-2, spending several more days documenting its findings in a thick leather journal stored within its doctor bag. SCP-049 will often seek to share its findings with members of Foundation staff. The following is a log of several occasions during which SCP-049 was observed operating on a mammalian corpse. Observational Log 049.0L.1 Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: a test subject, D-85123, was introduced into SCP-049's containment cell. The entity expressed sincere gratitude towards all members of the containment and research staff. Observation notes. SCP-049 began by asking D-85123 several standard medical questions, as it began removing tools from its bag. Shortly after finishing its preparations, SCP-049 quickly closed the distance between the two, killing the subject with a touch to its throat. Afterwards, SCP-049 made a number of considerable alterations to the basic structure of the subject's corpse, often introducing fluids from within its bag into the subject by way of a hand-powered pump and copper tubing. The resulting 049-2 instance became animated, flailing and grasping at the walls of the chamber with a number of manufactured limbs while moaning out of an oblong orifice now present in its sternum. During this time, SCP-049 was observed taking notes of the instance in its journal and remarking to the watching research staff about the efficacy of its cure. Security personnel entered the chamber to move SCP-049 back to containment and were attacked by the instance. The security team dispatched the 049-2 instance, and SCP-049 returned to containment with no resistance, stating that it was pleased with the results. Observational Log 049.0L.2 Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased goat. SCP-049 expressed gratitude at the provision. Observation Notes: SCP-049 operated on the goat corpse for several days, eventually resulting in an instance of SCP-049-2. SCP-049 expressed pleasure in this outcome, though admitted the disease was still in its nascent stage. My veterinarian practice is rudimentary, but the patient responded well to the procedure. Observational Log 049.0L.3 Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: you can still hear the noises. Hello, welcome in, raiders. Hello, Baramir. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. My name is Princess. I am a variety VTuber here on Twitch. Today we are doing some ASMR bedtime stories, and we are currently reading about SCP-049. Stream has been good. Welcome in, Baramir. Hello, Captain Profligacy. Welcome, welcome. How was stream today? How was Supermarket Together? Who were you playing with? Maybe I have to turn off this program. Maybe it won't make sounds anymore. We'll see. But I was just reading stuff about SCP-049. I think we might also do like No Sleep, like that subreddit No Sleep. Sometimes I'll read stuff from there and it's quite interesting, so we'll see. I mean, maybe not the best things to read before bed, but Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased orangutan. SCP-049 expressed noted gratitude at the provision due to the similarities between the orangutan and common human physiology. Observation Notes: SCP-049 spent several days operating on the orangutan, reanimating it several times. However, SCP-049 appeared to be discontent with the result it experienced, returning to the creature 3 times after its initial reanimation for additional work. After it was unable to reanimate the corpse a 5th time, SCP-049 turned the corpse over to Foundation staff for incineration, stating, "I have learned so much from this. Though I fear my early optimism was misplaced, I hadn't yet come across such a stumbling block on my road to the cure. More subjects like this would do a great deal in advancing my research." Stream was good. We managed to be in the green for 2 days. I was playing with Profligacy and a couple other friends. Oh, awesome. I hope that you had fun. I have seen friends play Supermarket Together, but I have not played it myself. So I do hope that you guys had fun running a supermarket and, selling and making a profit, hopefully. How expensive were eggs at your supermarket? Is it the place to buy eggs? Observational Log 049.0L.7 Full. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased bovine. SCP-049 expressed mild annoyance at the provision, though accepted it nonetheless. Observation Notes: SCP-049 spent several days operating on the bovine corpse, breaking only to dine on a requested dinner of thin crackers, salted pork, and hard cheese. Beginning first by embalming the corpse, SCP-049 was observed producing a number of long syringes from its bag, each containing a different, dark, viscous fluid. SCP-049 described these fluids as essences of the humors, and elaborated by saying the pestilence may bring about a systemic imbalance. In such a case, before true healing can begin, one must find the humors in balance or the body will reject the cure. Over the next few days, SCP-049 spent a considerable amount of time adjusting the organs of the bovine corpse with a number of large metal instruments. After 8 days, SCP-049 produced a lightning rod, which Dr. Ham exchanged for an electric cattle prod attached to an extension cord, and struck the corpse in several locations. This action seemingly had the effect of reanimating the bovine, which once again became ambulatory, despite the inversion of the head and reorientation of its limbs. We didn't even have eggs yet, but we had fun. We will be trying Grocery Store Simulator next week. Oh, there's a different... Wait, what's the difference between a supermarket and a grocery store? Is there a difference between the two? Follow-up interview. Begin log. Minor one. Oh, what's the minor difference? We've watched you work for several weeks now, and honestly, I'm not sure I understand what you're doing. Can you describe your process in detail? Oh, goodness, no. The process is most intensive. As I said to your assistant, the best instruction you will find about my methods are here in my journals, as I have kept exhaustive records of my work there. I see. My concern, Doctor, is that we still don't understand what you're seeking to cure, how it manifests, or how turning these creatures into quasi-living mindless drones helps in that effort. You do not understand the pestilence. Even after all this time. Doctor, it is an unspeakable horror, one that has shown its true face many times before, and will again. I find myself blessed with the wisdom and good senses needed to root it out and destroy it, but many like yourself cannot. It is a cruel judgment, I fear, to be at the mercy of a disease you cannot fully comprehend. That still doesn't answer my question. How is your cure any kind of cure at all? It is a cure. You may laugh at my efforts if you please, but do not besmirch the good name of scientific progress that has developed this great mercy. What you so short-sightedly see here is a life better than any this creature could have hoped for, stricken as it was with pestilence. This creature is now clean, unable to spread the pestilence and free from the terror it would have experienced otherwise. This is hardly a creature at all, Doctor. It's not even... Do not jape with me, sir. You and your colleagues are like so many others, unable to look past minor setbacks to see the salvation taking place before your very eyes. Do you wait to remove rotten timbers until the hull collapses on top of you? No. You find them and you pull them out and replace them with those untouched by rot. And most of all, you do not simply mock the structure because it now looks different to you. It is strong. It is free of disease. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to agitate you. I'm just trying to understand. Yes. Well, do mind your words in the future, Doctor. I am a professional. But even professionals may feel the bite of pride in dealing with criticism of their masterpiece. I will forgive this as an act of good faith between colleagues. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that will be all. Another test subject on the usual schedule. You know my preferences of subjects with more human anatomies. End log. Attending researcher's note. SCP-049 does seem to genuinely want to help other humans, though it has not yet been able to provide a concrete example of what exactly it is trying to save us all from. I have watched it now over several weeks, and while the outcomes do not seem to ever change, SCP-049 continues to claim that it is growing closer to its perfect cure. I think the entity may be more aware of the reality of these outcomes than it would like us to think. Swordsman says every grocery store can be a supermarket, but supermarkets sell other stuff like electronics or home stuff. I see. So you're saying that like a Target or like a Walmart is also like a supermarket. Also, I forgot, but I will pin this message here. I am raising funds for PC, which is why today we're doing an ASMR bedtime story, is because we hit the incentive for it. Pretty much, but they're not strictly a grocery store, which sells primarily food. I see. I see. Okay. Next one is... Okay, we're almost done. There's like 2 more addendums. A silly definitions thing that makes sense. Okay, addendum 049.3. April 16th, 2017 incident. Starting shortly after SCP-049's initial containment, Dr. Ham conducted a number of interviews with the subject regarding its anomalous properties, and over time began to note its displeasure with its subjects and the SCP-049-2 instances. This continued for a period of several months, during which SCP-049 never exhibited any aggressive behaviors. On April 16, 2017, as Dr. Ham was entering SCP-049's test chamber to conduct another routine interview, the entity began to grow anxious and asked Dr. Ham if he was feeling well. Following protocol, Dr. Ham reminded SCP-049 that the interview was required, after which the entity became hostile and attacked Dr. Ham, killing him. Due to a lapse in security protocol, and because Dr. Ham did not activate the in-chamber emergency system, Dr. Ham's corpse was not discovered until 3 hours later, by which point SCP-049 had converted it to an instance of SCP-049-2. In the aftermath of this incident, SCP-049 was interviewed by Dr. Theron Sherman. Interviewer: Dr. Theron Sherman, Site 42. Interviewee, SCP-049. Begin log. I need you to explain yourself. SCP-049, you are being directed to explain your actions, and I will remind you that failure to cooperate will result in further restrictions during your containment. My actions do not need to be explained. You killed Raymond Ham and then butchered him until he... Not dead! No! Not dead! He's cured! Cured? Cured of what? The pestilence, sir! I thought you, at least, would realize what luck it is I detected it before. What pestilence? You keep going on and on about this pestilence, but you have not once been able to properly identify this disease. What could you have possibly seen in him today that you had not seen so many times before? That it would be worth his life? The pestilence presents and progresses in unforeseeable fashions and has a queer way of creeping into the unprepared and... Call it what you want, Doctor. It was a mercy I did to him. He is cured. He is a vegetable. I would not expect you to understand. You and your ilk have proven time again to be not men of science, but men of emotion. You cannot appreciate the horrors I have seen, those many millions who have succumbed to the pestilence and been changed, who... Your cure cost Ray his life. No, good sir, I have saved it. You would allow this world to slip back into the despair of disease and death, ignoring that I have created a miracle, and... What disease? What pestilence? He was a healthy man. He was a good doctor. I'm offering it freely to the afflicted.
You are not worth this argument, sir. You are short-sighted and foolish. Dr. Ham was sick and I cured him. I am the only one who can do this. My work must continue. There's much still to learn, so much to... I've had enough of this. Consider your allowances revoked. Welcome to Containment 049. We're done here. Do, and others can be saved. Even you, though you do not deserve it, might be saved. I can save them all. I can cast down this plague once and for all. I can do this. Only me. I saved him. I saved him. Dr. Ham, I cured him. He was sick. I know he was sick. I know he was, and you were all sick, but I can save you. I can save all of you because I am the cure. End log. Addendum 049.4 Post-Incident Report Interview. The following interview is an excerpt from the April 16, 2017 049 Incident Report. The interview was conducted by Dr. Elijah Itkin and took place 3 weeks after the start of the initial investigation. It's a hell of a story, huh, Raska? It is quite a story. Date 5/17/2017. Interviewer Dr. Elijah Itkin. Interviewee SCP-049. Begin log. Dr. Itkin. SCP-049. We are conducting this interview to close out our investigation of your actions taken on April 16th that resulted in the death of a staff member. Do you have any comments to make? SCP-049. Only that I look forward to the day when you will allow me to resume my work. I have spent the last few weeks compiling my notes and constructing a new theory for how the pestilence was able to infect someone in such an insidious manner that I nearly couldn't detect it. Have you experienced any remorse for your actions, for the death of Dr. Ham? Yes. Well, the death of a colleague is always regrettable, but in the face of the pestilence we must be swift, Doctor, and act without hesitation. Dr. Sherman noted in his report that you seemed to be mournful during your initial interview. Mourn? Perhaps. I had not thought that. It is lamentable that a fellow doctor became infected, but the work continues. Regrettable as it was, Dr. Ham's death provided important insight. Living human subjects are the only way to proceed forward, I am decided. My cure is of little use on dead flesh, and I have gleaned all I can from your generous supply of corpses. My desires turn towards tending to those still living who suffer from the disease. I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. Oh, Doctor, I wouldn't be so sure. End log. What an interesting story. Kind of spooky. What do you think the pestilence is? Do you guys think the pestilence is just like death? I wish I had a clap emote. Can't believe that man got turned into roughage, reduced to lettuce. He was a vegetable. Ever is always telling me and our other friends like Ash and Miku to eat our vegetables because we never eat vegetables when we eat dinners together for D&D nights. And she's like, you guys can't die before I do. I would say the plague is probably death and the incoming threat of death. That or it's being alive itself. Oh, interesting. Okay, had not thought of that. You know what we should look up? Some no sleep stories. Let's go to no sleep and let's see sort by top and let's do all time, yeah? There's an alternative viewpoint from my point of view is that he cures being alive by turning you into something dead. Interesting. Okay. Some of these have been tagged Scariest Story 2022,
This one is Scariest Story 2019, Most Immersive Story 2019. Do we want Most Immersive Story? Okay. This might be kind of scary. What if I spook myself before I go to bed? What if I spook myself before bed? Okay. I can't modify it like that. There we go. And boop. Immersive scary stories in the month of love. I wouldn't do that myself, so it's up to you, sleepy lady. All right. This is what you guys signed up for. You guys are completely free to click out if you guys don't want to hear scary stories, but I'm going to be reading scary stories to myself. I'm going to freak myself out, but that's okay. It's fine. Okay. I didn't sign up for shit. I just got here. Well, welcome. Hello to my stream. We don't usually do like these reading things, by the way. It's very rare. And you know, I hope you like it and come back because we don't do this often. So you'll probably be watching me play Jump King any other day of the week. All right, so this is a story from Grand Theft Motto in the subreddit No Sleep. This marked the scariest story of 2019. Okay. The title of the story is Something Walks Whistling Past My House Every Night at 3:03. Every night, no matter the weather, something walks down our street whistling softly. You can only hear it if you're in the living room or the kitchen when they walk by, and it starts at exactly 3:03. The sound starts faint, somewhere near the beginning of the lane near the Carson place. We're towards the middle of the street, so the whistling moves past us before fading away in the direction of the cul-de-sac. When I was younger, my sister and I would sneak into the kitchen some nights to listen. Mom and Dad didn't like that we'd catch hell. Like that, and we'd catch hell if they found us out there. But they were never too hard on us since we always stuck to the one big rule. Don't try to look at whatever was whistling. My neighborhood is a funny place. I have lived here since I was 6 and I love it. The houses are small but well kept, good-sized yards, plenty of places to roam. There are a lot of other kids here my age. I turned 13 back in October. We grew up together and would always play foursquare in the cul-de-sac or roam around from back porch to back porch in the summer. This was a good place to grow up. I'm old enough to see it, and there's only the two strange things here. The night whistling and the good luck. The whistling never bothered me much. Like I said, I couldn't hear it from my bedroom, but Mom and Dad don't like talking about it, so I've stopped asking questions. My dad is a strong guy, tall and calm. He has an accent since he moved to the US as a kid. His family, my grandparents, they're from the islands. That's what they call it. My dad, the only time he isn't so calm is if the whistler comes up. He talks a little quicker then. Eyes move faster, and he tells us not to think about it so much and to always remember the one rule. The big rule. Don't try to look outside when the whistler goes past. Not that we could even look if we wanted. See, there are shutters on the inside of every window, thick pieces of heavy canvas that pull down from the top and latch to the bottom of the window frame. Each latch, even, has a small lock, about the size of what you'd find on a diary. My dad locks those shutters every night before we all go to bed and keeps the key in his room. My mom, I don't know what she thinks about the whistling. I've seen her out in the living room before at 3:03 when the sound starts, and
I could see her if I cracked my door open just an inch to peek. She's not out there often, at least I haven't caught her much, but once or twice a month I think she sits out there on our big red couch just listening. The Whistler has the same tune every night. It's tearful. I don't know how to whistle, so we're just going to skip the whistling part. Remember how I said there are two odd things about where I live? Well, besides our night whistler, everyone in my neighborhood is really lucky. It's hard to explain, and Dad doesn't like us talking about this part much either, but good things just seem to happen to people around here a lot. Usually, it's small things, winning a radio contest, or getting an unexpected promotion at work, or finding some arrowheads buried in the yard. You know, the authentic kind. The weather is pretty good, and there's no crime, and everybody's garden bloom extra bright in the fall. A million little blessings, I've heard my mom say about living here. But the main reason we stay here, why we moved here in the first place, is my sister Nola. She was born very sick, something with her lungs. We couldn't even bring her home when she was born, only visit her in the hospital. She was so small, I remember. Small even compared to the other babies. A machine had to breathe for her. We moved into our house here to be closer to the hospital. As soon as we moved here, Nola started getting better. The doctors couldn't figure it out. They chalked it up to whatever they were doing, but we could all tell they were confused. But my parents knew. Even I knew. Nola getting better was just another of the million little blessings we got for living in our neighborhood. So that's why we stayed, even after we found out that for every small miracle that happens here every day, now and then, some bad things happen. But they only happen if you look for the whistler. See, our neighborhood has a welcoming committee. They show up with macaroni casserole and a gift basket and a manila folder whenever someone new moves in. They're very friendly. 4 people showed up when we moved in 7 years ago. The committee made small talk, gave me a Snickers bar, and took turns holding Nola. It was her first week out of the hospital, so they were extra careful. Then the committee asked to speak to my parents in private, so I was sent to my room, where I still managed to hear nearly every word. The welcoming committee told my parents about how nice the neighborhood was. Really exceptionally. Hard to explain kind of nice. And then they told my parents about the even harder to explain whistling that happened every morning at 3:03 and ended at the tick of 3:05. The group, our new neighbors, warned my parents that the whistling was quiet, would never harm or hurt us as long as we didn't look for what was making the sound. This part they stressed, and I pushed my ear into the door, straining to hear them. People who went looking for the whistler had their luck change, sometimes tragically. A black cloud would hang over anyone that looked. Anything that could go wrong would. The manila envelope the committee brought over contained newspaper clippings, stories about car crashes and ruined lives, public deaths, and freak accidents. Not everyone dies, I heard the head of the committee tell my dad. But the life goes out of them. Even if they live, there's no light in them ever again, no presence. My mom, I could tell she wasn't taking it seriously. She kept asking if this was some prank they play on new neighbors. At one point, my mom got angry, accused the committee of trying to scare us out of our new home, asked them if they were racist on account of my dad being from the islands. My dad calmed her down, told her he could tell our new neighbors were sincere, and they were just trying to help us. He explained that he grew up hearing these kinds of stories from his mom, and that he knew there were strange things that walked among us. Some of those strange things were good, and some were bad, but most were just different. After the committee left, Dad went out to the hardware store, bought the canvas blinds, the latches, and the locks, and installed them on every window in the house after dinner. That first night in our new house, I crept out of my room at 3 a.m., only to find my dad awake, sitting on the living room couch holding my baby sister. My dad held up his finger in a shh motion, but patted the couch next to him. I sat, and we waited. At exactly 3:03, we heard the whistling. It came, and it went, just like our neighbors said. The whistling returns each night, and we never look, and we enjoy our million little blessings every day. Nola breathes on her own, and she's grown into a strong, clever girl. My dad even joined the welcoming committee. We don't get new neighbors often. Why would anyone want to leave? But when a new family moves in, my dad and the committee bring them macaroni casserole, a gift basket, and the manila folder. I can always tell by the look on my dad's face when he comes back if the family took the committee seriously or if we'd be getting new neighbors again very soon. Not long ago, a family moved in directly next to us. The previous owner, Miss Maddie, passed away at age 105. Wow, there are dogs outside that are very loud. Sorry. Sorry if you can hear the dogs. She'd lived a good long life. Our new neighbors seemed like they'd fit in just fine. They believed the welcoming committee, took my dad's advice about the locking shutters, since they had a young child of their own. Whatever newspaper clippings were in that manila envelope, whatever evidence, my dad never let us see. But I imagine it must have been awfully convincing, since our neighbors got along with no issue for the first month. One night, when our new neighbors had to leave town, they sent their son Holden to stay with us. He was 12, a year under me in school, and I didn't know him well before that night, but as soon as his parents dropped him off after dinner, I could tell it was going to be a bad time. The doggos are just doing doggo things, it's true. Maybe they're scared of the whistler that's gonna come tonight, you know? Do you know who is always out there whistling every night? Holden asked the moment the adults left the room. The three of us were sitting in the den, some Disney movie playing idly on the television. My sister and I exchanged a glance. We don't talk about that, I said. I think it's that weirdo that lives in that big yellow house in the corner, Holden said. Mr. Tolles? My sister asked. No way, he's really nice. Holden shrugged. Must be a psycho killer then. Wait, it's dog? Ignore the text. Nola tensed. We don't talk about it, I repeated. Let's go in my room and play Nintendo. We spent the next few hours playing games, eating popcorn, and then watching movies. A typical sleepover, but I could see Holden was getting antsy. After my parents had wished us a good night, locked the blinds, and gone to bed, Holden stood up from his beanbag and walked over to where Nola and I were sitting on my bed. Have you ever even tried looking? He asked. It's nearly time. Like most sleepovers, we'd conveniently ignored any suggestion of a bedtime. I was shocked to see he was right. It was almost 3 a.m. I sighed. We don't... See, I can't. I can't even try to look because my dad locks the blinds every night and hides the key, he continued, ignoring me. So does our dad, said Nola. No, replied Holden. No, he doesn't. You saw him do it, I said, a little sharper than I meant to sound. Holden grinned. Your dad locks the blinds, yeah, but he doesn't hide the key. He keeps it right on his normal keychain. So? I asked, worried I already knew what he would say next, because I had noticed that my dad didn't bother hiding the key anymore, after all these years because he knew we took it seriously. So, after your dad locked up, but before your parents went to bed, I went to the bathroom. And on my way, I may have peeked into their room, and I may have seen your dad's keychain on his nightstand, and I maybe went and borrowed the key to the blinds. Nola and I stared, and his grin only grew wider. "You're lying," I said. Holden shrugged. "You can check if you want. Just open your parents' door and look. You'll see his keychain right there on the nightstand." "Stay here," I told both of them. "Don't move a muscle." I hurried over to my parents' room, but hesitated at the door. If Holden wasn't lying, my dad would be angry. Beyond angry. I was scared of thinking about it, but more scared of an open window with the whistler right outside. I opened the door, barely an inch, and looked in, but it was too dark to see. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the room. 2 steps into the dark, I froze. The whistling started, and I could hear it clearly from my parents' room. I never realized, but they must have heard the sound every night since we moved into the house. They never told us. I don't think I could have slept through it. I stood there, listening to the whistling come closer, unsure whether I should turn on a light or call out for my dad. Soft sounds from the living room brought me back to reality. "Nola!" I yelled, running out of my parents' room. Holden and Nola were standing near the front door, next to a window. Holden wasn't lying. I could see him fumbling with the lock on one of the blinds. I heard a click. He did have the key. Holden let out a quick laugh. Nola stood next to him, hunched up, afraid, but maybe curious. The whistling was right outside our house now. I think I made a sound, called out. I can't remember. Time felt frozen, clock hands nailed to the face. But I found myself moving. I'm not fast, I've never been athletic. Somehow, though, I covered the space between myself and Nola in a moment. My eyes were locked on her, but I heard Holden pull the blind all the way down so it could release. I heard the snap of it start to raise, and I heard the whistling just on the other side of the window. But I had my arms around Nola, and I turned us, so she was facing away from the window. At the same time, I jammed my eyes shut. The blind whipped open. The whistling stopped. I felt Nola shaking in my arms. "Don't look, okay?" I told her. "Don't turn around." We were positioned so that she was facing back towards the hallway, and I was facing the window. My eyes were still closed. I felt her nod into my shoulder. I reached out with my arm not holding Nola and tried to touch Holden. My hand brushed against his arm. He was shaking worse than Nola. "Holden?" I asked. Silence. I reached past him and gingerly felt for the window, eyes still sealed shut. The glass was cold against my fingertips, colder than it should have been for the time of year. I moved my hand up the window, searching for the string to the blind. The glass began to get warmer the further I reached, and there was a gentle hum feeding back into my fingertips. I tried not to think about what might be on the other side of the window. Finally, I touched the string and yanked the blinds shut. I opened my eyes. In the dim light leaking from the kitchen, I could make out Holden, pale and small, still staring at the now closed window. "Holden?" I asked again. Everything became... Oh, sorry. He turned towards me and he screamed. Everything became a flurry of motion. Lights sparked to life in the hall, then the living room. My parents' footsteps thudded across the hardwood floor. I didn't turn to look back at them. My eyes were glued to Holden. He was pale, had bit his lips so hard there was a thin red line of blood running down his chin, and he'd wet himself. "What happened?" my dad asked from behind me. I managed to swivel away from Holden and look back. He looked. I'd never seen my dad scared before, but I saw it that night, in that moment, an old, ugly terror stitched on his face, a parent's fear. "Just Holden?" he mouthed to me. I nodded yes. My dad let out a breath. He looked so relieved I nearly expected him to cheer. But then he turned to Holden, and my dad's face changed. I wondered if he felt bad for feeling good that Holden was the only one that looked. There was a knock at the door. We all froze. Holden whimpered. "Don't answer it," my mom said. She stood at the threshold of the hall. I'd always thought she was a skeptic and just humored my dad about the windows and the whistler, but that night we were all believers. I noticed that both of my parents held baseball bats they must have taken from their bedroom. The knock came again. A little louder this time. "Please don't open the door," Holden whispered. My dad walked over to him, hugged him close. "We won't," my dad promised, still holding his bat. "Nothing is coming in here tonight." Thud, thud, thud. This time, the knocking was loud enough to rattle the door. Holden screamed again, and Nola clutched her arms around my neck. My mom came over and knelt down next to us, wrapping my sister and me close. Thud, thud, thud. "Call the police," my mom whispered to my dad. The knocking instantly stopped. My dad looked over his shoulder at us. "Do you think..." He was cut off by a frantic knocking that trailed off to a polite tap, tap, tap. "Police," something said from the other side of the door. The voice from outside sounded exactly like my mom, like a parrot repeating the words back to her. "Police, call the police, tap, 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 police." My mom pulled us closer. "Police, police, police, police." "Please stop," I heard her whisper. "I don't think calling them will help," my dad said. "How will we know when they're the ones at the door?" The knocking came back harder than before. The door shook, then it stopped. After a long moment, I heard the knocking again, but it was coming from our back door. We all turned together towards the back door, but the knocking immediately returned to the front door. Front to back, back to front, loud, then quiet, then loud again. Suddenly, the sound was coming from both doors at once, big, heavy blows like a sledgehammer. Then something started rapping against all of the windows in the house and the walls. It was like we were living inside a drum with a dozen people trying to play at once, or we were a turtle and something was attempting to claw us out of our shell. "Stop!" Holden yelled. The knocking died. "I won't tell," Holden said, staring at the door. "I promise I won't tell anyone what I saw. Please, just go away." We waited for nearly a minute. Then we heard it. A soft tap, 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 coming from the window Holden had looked through earlier. Holden started to cry, sobbing like a prisoner watching gallows being built outside their cell. My dad held him, brushed his hair, but never lied to him, never told him things would be okay. The tapping at the window went on for the rest of the night. We huddled together in the living room for I don't know how long. Eventually, my mom tried to take us kids into my room while my dad stayed to watch the door. But the second we moved into my bedroom, the knocking came back. So loud it was impossible to ignore. I was afraid the door couldn't take it. We went back to the living room and the knocking stopped. Only the tap, tap, tap of the window remained. None of us left that night. The tapping stopped around 7 a.m. That's about the time the sun come up here. We waited another 2 hours before my dad opened the blinds from one window. He made us all go back to my parents' bedroom first. I heard him open the door, then come back in. Okay, he told us. It's done. Holden's parents came back around lunchtime. My mom and dad walked Holden over to his house, and they all went inside for quite a while. Nola and I watched from the window. She stuck to me the whole day, right at my side, sometimes holding my hand. When my parents came back, they looked grim, but wouldn't tell us what they said to Holden's family. It was a Sunday, so we all spent the day together, ordered pizza, and watched movies. That night, everyone slept in my room. Nola and my mom in the bed with me. My dad in a chair he'd pulled over. There was no knocking that night or any night since. We didn't see much of Holden or his parents for the rest of that week. But by Thursday, there was a moving truck in their driveway. Nola and I watched them packing up the whole afternoon after school. What sticks with me most is how tired Holden and his parents looked. All three had the same pallor, grim mouths, and lightless eyes. Even from across the street, I could tell something was very wrong. Holden and his family were gone before sunset. I remember what the original welcoming committee said to my parents when we moved in. Not everyone who looks at the Whistler dies, but even those that live have the lights go out of them, and the rest of their lives are full of misfortune. A million little tragedies. I think Holden's parents must have looked, either to comfort him if they didn't believe, or share the burden if they did. I watch Nola some days, happy and young and alive, and I wonder if I'd been slower if she'd look out the window that night. Would I have looked too? To comfort her? To share that burden? I'm glad I don't have to find out. We still live in that house, in that neighborhood. We still hear our Whistler walking past every night. The blessings, the luck, the good things here are too good to leave. But we're careful. We don't have friends over to spend the night anymore. And my dad hides the key to the blinds very, very well. Not that I've gone looking. Some things you just don't need to look for. And that's the end of the story. What do you guys think? Also, if chat looked outside the window, would you share our birthday? No? You guys think I would look after that? Hell no. You guys are on your own. Someone commented, does the Whistler adhere to daylight savings? Okay. Dang. That was scary. Were you guys scared? Did that scare you guys? It was kind of freaky for me. Okay, wait. There was a really cute story. Princess really said, then perish. It's true. If you guys want to look, you guys can. I'm not going to stop you, but, you know, I won't join you. Okay. This one has a very cute title, and I kind of want to read it. Let me fix the name here. This one is a story from March 2019. Sounds like a nice neighborhood. I mean, sounds like a nice neighborhood if you're not curious, because curiosity in this case would kill the cat, you know?
I like these no sleep stories. They're kind of cute. All right. Okay. So this one, I like the title, which is why we're reading it. Because, unlike what people tell you, like not to judge a book by its cover, I will judge a book by its cover. I will judge it by its title. So this one said, She Sold Happiness in Glass Jars. Isn't that a cute title? Aren't you guys curious? You mean Princess Raska isn't say so? I'm the most say so. I'm so say so. I'm so pure and innocent. I'm I'm practically an angel. Okay. True story, I'm sure. What are we selling in glass jars? Happiness, Creed. Welcome in. We're doing some ASMR bedtime stories. It just so happens that I'm reading from our no sleep, Just maybe. Okay. Are you ready for this story? Apparently, maybe this was like, I think the top story in March of 2019. And it starts, the poster read, Happiness, sold in glass jars. Call today. And underneath the text was a phone number. I was walking home from a long, exhausting day of work when I caught a glimpse of the paper stapled on an old telephone pole. I took a picture of it, thinking it was amusing. I was going to show my wife once I got to our apartment, but I was caught up with chores and forgot about it. Dinner, dishes, laundry, packing a snack for our daughter, putting her to bed, then putting her toys away that she'd left out in the living room every night. It was the exact same routine. The next day, I awoke sleeping back to back with my wife. I always had to get up earlier than she did for my job, so I quietly got ready for the day and headed out the door. At work, I was updating the company's latest expense report. Most days were similar to this one. They were basically paying me to stare at a computer for 9 hours a day and input a couple numbers into a spreadsheet. I finished my work very quickly, so I decided to head out of the office early. It also helps that it was a Friday, and a lot of people leave early at the end of the week. On my walk back, I was thinking of what my life had become. I did this often. I always dreamed of traveling when I was younger. I wanted to drive across the country or solo backpack across Europe. Then I met Kelsey. Don't get me wrong, I love Kelsey. I mean, I still do. We just don't have that spark anymore. When you meet someone and get in a relationship, whether it's meant to be or not, some of your personal life plans have to be put on hold. And then that relationship turns to marriage, and then you have a baby. Then you have to enroll your daughter in a preschool. Then you have to get a better paying job and work more hours and blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to throw a pity party for myself. I'm just saying I wasn't exactly content with where I was in my life. I wouldn't have referred to myself as a happy person. Would you guys? Do you guys think you guys are happy people? Do you consider yourself a happy person? Just a question. Not part of the story, by the way. As I took the same route home that I did every day to work and back, I walked by the same poster I had passed the day before. I don't know why. I really don't, but I decided to call the number. I figured it would be some joke. Maybe someone just picks up and says, I love you, on the other end and hangs up, or maybe it's a line to a sex worker. I had no idea what to expect. I called. It only rang once before someone picked up. Hello? A woman said. Oh, hi. I'm calling about your poster, your ad. Oh, awesome, she said calmly. When do you want to pick it up? Pick what up? The jar, she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Oh, of course. I realized then that I had left work early without telling Kelsey, so I could just go pick it up now and she'd be none the wiser. What exactly is it that you're selling? Cap says, I'm a super happy person, I think. That's good. I hope everyone is a super happy person. I just told you. It's happiness in a glass jar. Like the poster said. Happiness keeps best in glass jars. They're more durable than, say, a plastic bag. Okay, should we meet somewhere? For sure. I don't want you to end up being a creep or something, so let's go to a public place. The public place we decided on was a Starbucks parking lot a little over a mile from me. Now, I didn't think I was really going to be buying a jar of happiness or whatever. I was 99% sure she was going to sell me some drugs. Maybe heroin would be in the jar. I remember thinking, oh no, happiness is probably a nickname for some street drug, and I'm going to a drug deal. What if she's a cop? Am I going to be arrested? But something inside told me to keep walking, and so I did. I stood outside and texted her. Me, I'm here. Her. Cool, be there in a sec. Me, what are you driving? Her. Silver Camry. And as her final text came through, I saw her car pull in. She took a spot not too far from where I stood. I could see there was no one else in the car, which put my kidnapping fear to rest. She opened her door and stood on the pavement, looking around until her eyes met mine. I gave her a little nod of acknowledgement. She simply responded by waving her hand, gesturing for me to come over to her car. So I did. Also, if you guys saw an ad for happiness in a jar, would you buy it? I think I'd be too curious. I think I would at least text the person. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with curly golden hair. Her skin was pale and contrasted with the all-black outfit she was wearing. I thought she looked like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz had put on the Wicked Witch's clothes. Nice day out, she said as a greeting. Oh yeah, it is. I hadn't really paid attention to it. You were the one that called about the jar, right? Yeah, that was me. Cool. Well, here you go. She handed me a very small glass mason jar. It couldn't have been more than 2 inches tall. Inside of it was a light. Not a light bulb, just light. It was like someone bottled up sunshine. It glowed even in the mid-afternoon daylight. It looked like a tiny sun or a tiny universe existing in this little crystal-walled home. I was admiring it with no attempt to hide the awe on my face. Pretty rad, isn't it? What is it? You asked that like 3 different times, I think. My answer is still the same. It is happiness. Happiness in a glass jar. What do I do with it? Keep it, she said simply. If you have any problems, shoot me a text. She started to get into her car. Wait, I said. I thought you were selling this? How much is it? Don't worry, man, she said with a smile. You'll pay. Yeah, just for the whimsy of it all. I would be doubtful after all. You can't buy happiness. That's true. But money, I mean, it's surely better to cry on your yacht than to cry in a home you can't afford to rent. I think I'd take the money. Also, how mysterious. You'll pay? That's all? Just you'll pay? She closed her door, and I stepped out of her way as she backed up, then drove off. What the hell had just happened? What was I holding? I looked down at the jar again. Its radiance was simply mesmerizing. I put it in my pocket and could see its glow slightly through my pants. I began to walk home. Hello, welcome in. Thank you for the head pat, Zero. What was just a nice sunny day quickly changed into a rainy one, with clouds wrapping the sky. It was not forecasted that it would rain, or else I would have ridden the bus or subway to work that day. I jogged home, trying not to get too drenched. I finally found shelter once I made it to my apartment building. I walked up to my door and found that my key wasn't on my key ring anymore. Shit, I can't believe I lost it again, I thought. I knocked on the door and said in a somewhat loud voice, Hey babe, it's me. I don't know what happened to my key. I heard the door being unlocked from the other side. When the door opened, I was greeted by a large, heavy-set man with greasy hair and unkempt goatee. He said,
I think you got the wrong door, bud. Oh, I said, disoriented. My bad, sorry, have a good one. He let out a chuckle as he closed the door. Apartment number 33. I know that was my apartment. I know it was. I'd been in apartment 33 for 5 years now, but that was not my apartment. From what I could see inside, all the furniture was different. It was painted a different color. It was all wrong. Felt like I'd hit my head and was drugged. In that moment, nothing made sense. I pulled out my phone to call Kelsey so she could calm me down and tell me I just got confused for a second, but her contact wasn't in my phone. In fact, nothing was in my phone. I had no messages with her, no previous calls, no pictures. It was like my phone reset to its factory settings. Did that girl somehow switch my phone out when I wasn't looking? I would have just dialed Kelsey's number manually, but I couldn't quite remember it. I had known it by heart before, but not anymore. I needed to get back to the office. I had all my contacts backed up on my work computer. Since it was raining, I hopped on the bus, which had a stop right in front of the apartment complex. I rode downtown toward my office, the whole time staring at my wet shoes, wondering what the hell was going on. We have a key card access to our building, so only authorized personnel can get inside. I always keep my access card in my wallet, always, but surprise, surprise, it wasn't there. I buzzed into the speaker we had for guests with appointments or employees as a backup in case anyone lost or forgot their card. Zzz. Hey, this is Tim. I must have lost my card. My employee number is. I stopped as I drew a blank. A voice came through the speaker. Tim, you got cut out. What's your employee number? I can't remember. It's fine. Just tell me your full name and department. Finance. I'm in finance. My full name is Tim Brooks. One sec. About 30 seconds later, the man spoke to me again. We don't have a Tim Brooks working in this building. Did you have an appointment with someone? I backed up in surprise, almost tripping on my own feet. I had just been in that office an hour or two ago. What was happening to me? Felt like I was getting Alzheimer's, but going through every stage in one day. I stared at my hands, unsure if I was in the right body. I felt like the world around me was disintegrating. I wasn't in control. I was merely sitting inside somebody's head, watching the world through their eyes. Just then, I got a text. I recognized the number immediately. It was that girl, the one who gave me the jar. I'd forgotten all about it until I saw her text. Hey, how's it going? I looked at my phone, dumbfounded. It made me so angry. She was so nonchalant about this. She knew what was going on. She had done this somehow. Me. What the hell did you do to me? Her. The worst is yet to come. I was astronomically close to just chucking my phone as far as I could in frustration. I took the jar out of my pocket. It looked unchanged, still glowing just as bright. What the fuck did you do? I yelled at the jar, realizing I probably looked like a lunatic. I stared at its glistening glass. I realized something. I didn't know what my wife's face looked like anymore. I knew her name. Well, I know it started with a K or maybe a C. I couldn't picture her in my mind. I knew I had a wife. I knew I did. Yes, because I had a daughter. I had a wife and a daughter. I just couldn't remember their faces then, or their names, or their birthdays, or any memories I had with them. I know they existed. They did exist. I had just seen them that morning, right? I couldn't remember how she looked or what she smelled like. What was our first date? We had a wedding, right? What about our first kiss? Or my daughter, or was it a son? Maybe I didn't even have a kid, but my wife or girlfriend, she was real. I knew she was. The thought was tearing me apart. I couldn't see her in my head. I couldn't recall a single fact about her. I was standing outside of the same building, but I was unsure why I was. Did I work there? I must work somewhere. The rain was accompanied by a chilly wind now. It was whipping at my face, making my nose and cheeks sting. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with her. I wanted to be warm. I I wanted to go into a shitty office job that kept a roof over my head. I wanted it all. I was soaking wet. I was miserable. I couldn't remember my parents or my childhood. Did I even have any friends? Why was I in the rain? I looked down at my hand. I was still clutching the jar. The only memory of my entire life I could concretely remember was that girl giving it to me, telling me it was happiness. It did not bring happiness. It brought pain. It brought suffering. I was more miserable in that moment than I'd ever been. My phone buzzed. Break the jar, Tim. I looked at my other hand. With the setting sun and the rainy sky, I swear the jar glowed brighter than any streetlight near me. I didn't break it because I was following her instruction. I broke it because I was angry. I broke it because I was upset. I needed a release. I raised my arm above my head and brought it down with one swift motion, shattering the jar on the concrete beneath my feet. That dark, chilly air accompanying the rain spread away like it was the shockwave of a bomb going off, and I was at the epicenter. I saw the warm, yellow light from inside the jar spread rapidly across the ground and ascend into the sky. It was as if I was watching the beginnings of the universe being created, like God had just snapped his fingers and said, "Let there be light." I was engulfed in it. I could no longer see street or rain or anything dark. I felt like I was plummeting into a star going faster than the speed of light. It felt like sitting in front of a fire on a cold winter's night, but that warmth was covering every inch of my body. And then I blinked. Immediately, I could feel the sheets beneath me and my back barely touching my wife's. I was staring out the window. The morning light drenched through the glass and gleamed on my face. I stood from bed and grabbed my phone. It was Friday morning. I had one text. "Let me know if you ever need another jar." Smiley face. I called in sick to work. I snuck into my daughter's room and greeted her with a kiss and told her she didn't have to go to preschool today. We were going to have a family day. She smiled and stretched out her arms with a yawn before curling up and falling back asleep. I got back in bed and squeezed my wife tightly. I didn't let go for hours. Our daughter came into our room and woke us up eventually. She was jumping on the bed and shouting for us to wake up. Yesterday, I may have found that annoying. Yesterday, I may have found a lot of things annoying, or monotonous, or dull. But not today. Today, I pulled her under the covers in between me and Kelsey. Today was going to be a good day. Today, I was happy. Oh, that's cute. I don't know. Is that cute? I feel like it's just telling people to be grateful for what they have. How to reading? Are we making Princess read horror? I decided to read No Sleep myself. Hi, welcome in ever. Reverse, It's a Wonderful Life. What's It's a Wonderful Life? Is that a story? Is that a movie? I feel like I think the reason that I think I'm such a happy person is that I recognize and understand like why my life is the way it is, and I understand that I'm so lucky and grateful to be where I am with the people that I have around me, that like I don't know, I don't need a jar to tell me, right? Like what brings happiness to my life. That would imply Rosca wouldn't read stuff to scare us just because she could. An old story? It's a movie about a guy who's depressed and gets shown what life would be if he was never born and how terrible everyone else's life is. How have you been, Princess? I've been good, Zero. How have you been? I am getting ready for my trip to Alaska and I'm very scared. Which reminds me, I should probably text my friend Dana so I can get all of the snow gear, or not snow gear, but like heat tech warm clothes that I should
get to. Abaddon, hello, welcome in. It's very rare to see you here at this time of night, Abaddon, or like morning over there. How are you? I have been well, always great to see you. Alaska when? Alaska next week. My friends and I are going to see if we can, spot the aurora borealis. Let me see weather. I think the last time we looked, it was going to be kind of cloudy, so we are a little bit nervous about not being able to see the aurora borealis. I was watching the VOD of Babe Art stream yesterday, and you were like, I can't rate the Babe Art. Someone put a lot of effort into it, and it would be mean. It's true. I can't rate the Babe Art, Abaddon. Welcome in. Going from warm to cold is a fun change, I'm sure. Manifest auroras for us? Wait, no. Manifest clear skies, no clouds for us, chat. It's true. Ever's gonna go on the trip, too. We're going together, so, Oh my god, should we read the very all-time top story with 73,000 likes on the subreddit? This one is from August of 2021. I'm gonna read it. This one, the title of this says, My Sugar Daddy Asks Me for Weird Favors. Ossist. I can spell. You have to go with Ever. You would miss her way too much. It's true, my best friend. Meanwhile, 10 minutes later, rating the maps themselves. Yo, Realm sucks ass. Straight into D tier. Okay, but let's be real. Realms, I wanted to cry. It was such a bad map. Okay, don't tell Kamzu. Don't tell Kamzu. But welcome in, Abaddon. I hope you've been well. Okay. So this one is a story from August of 2021. And the story is, My Sugar Daddy Asks Me for Weird Favors. His Tinder profile said he was 45, but he looked to be in his early 30s at most. Looking for a sugar baby. $700 weekly, no sex. Dude, sign me the fuck up. Sorry. $700 a week to do nothing? To just chat with someone? It sounded too good to be true, but as a broke university student, I was willing to take my chances. I swiped right, and Tinder let me know it was a match. His message came seconds later. Hey there, sweetheart. Smiley face. I cringed at the word. I hated it, but $700 was $700, so I sucked it up and replied. If you think about it, streaming is basically crowdsourcing a sugar baby. It's true. Hi, I'm everybody's sugar baby. I'm funding a PC right now. Please send money to your sugar baby. To the nearest to the sugar baby near you. That would be me, Princess Rusk. Manifesting for you guys. Thank you, Cap. So I sucked it up and replied, Hey, winky face. His name was Jack, and he told me he owned his own business, although he never specified what kind of business it was. We talked for a while before he asked me for my Venmo to send the first payment. After a few minutes, I got the notification. I stared at the $700 for at least 20 minutes, expecting to wake up from a dream at any second, but it wasn't a dream. You still there? I clicked on the message. Yeah, sorry. If you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return? I stared at the chat until he replied, I'm just looking for you to do a few favors for me. Smiley face. That sounded like it was going to be sexual to me. Like what? For example, the first thing I need you to do is pick up a delivery for me. That sounded innocent enough, but I was still expecting there to be some kind of twist. $700 to pick up a package? Come on, even I wasn't that naive. From the post office or something? No, I'll send you the address, but I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got Kick? Or you can give me your number. Kick? What was this, 2011? I decided to give him my number instead.
and he texted me the address immediately, followed by the address to his house where I would have to drop off the package. I'm not home right now, but there's a key on the bottom of the blue flower pot near the door. Go inside and put the package on the coffee table in the living room. Make sure that you lock the door when you go inside the house and then lock it again when you leave. Okay, if some guy told me to put a package into his house, absolutely the fuck not. I will drop it off. I will drop your fucking package off. Like, from my car on the street. Yeah, like, yeah, and lock the door behind you. Fuck you, no. Absolutely the fuck not. What are you crazy, lady? What are you doing? $700 doesn't mean anything if you're fucking dead. Okay. I grabbed my car keys and wallet and got into my car, putting the address into Google Maps. Got it! On my way! My phone buzzed as I backed out of my driveway. I'm serious. Lock the door both times, please. Oh my god. I thought that was a little excessive, but I promised him that I would. The house looked abandoned. It had a broken chain link fence around it with a small door that was hanging on to dear life. It stuck out like a sore thumb, surrounded by houses that were a lot nicer than this one in comparison. You here for jack shit? I looked up to see a man standing in the open doorway of the house. He took up almost the entire space, his head skimming the top of the doorframe. He was huge, in height and muscles, and his entire torso was covered in tattoos. Yeah, I guess. I replied, not moving from my spot on the sidewalk. Stay right there, he said. I did. I actually don't think I would have moved if he asked me to. I looked around and realized that there was no one else on the street. I was a 21-year-old woman alone in the street. I gripped my car keys. A few minutes later, the man came back out carrying a cardboard box. It was about the size of a shoebox, but stained and damp on some of the corners. Can you open your car? He asked. I opened the trunk, not wanting that inside on my car seats, and he set it in. All right, there you go, he said. Thanks, I replied. I walked around the driver's side of the car and opened the door. Oh, and one more thing, he said. I looked at him. Watch out, he said. I didn't reply. Girl, run. It's true, girl, run. I blasted my music. By the way, also terrible. If you are making a delivery and someone said to watch your back and to lock the door both times, why the fuck would you be playing music so loud that you weren't aware of your surroundings? If a dude gave me a package to deliver and then casually said watch out, I would call the police on the spot. I blasted my music as I drove to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out my anxiety. It didn't. I parked my car in the stone driveway and stayed inside the car admiring the house. It was a huge house with stone pillars on the front porch and the greenest grass I had ever seen in my life. I turned the car off and got out. I grabbed the package and walked to the front door, getting the key from where he said it would be. I opened the door, stepped in, closing it behind me. I thought about what he had said about locking the door when I got inside. I thought that was a little overboard, but as I stared at the closed door, something made me reach out and lock it. I walked inside, my feet cushioned by the thick maroon carpet, and admired the inside of the house. All the furniture was wooden and looked incredibly expensive. I would probably finish school a dozen times with the money that it took to furnish this place. I set the package down on the coffee table, and as I walked back to the door, I heard her phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. I froze. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. I took it out to look. I gotta step away. Can you link me this no sleep? I have to see the dumbass ending. Yes, I can link it for you. Here. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. I took it out to look. Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin. I put my phone back, How the fuck, also, by the way, does he know that a phone is ringing and he tells her to not answer unless it's from Marvin? What the fuck, girl? Like, what are you even doing? Like, just leave. I put my phone back and followed the sound of the phone, poking my head into a few different rooms before I found it in an office. I walked over to the desk and looked at the caller ID. Incoming call from Jack. That was odd. I grabbed my phone to look at the message again. I was starting to get a little bit creeped out and decided I wouldn't answer just to be safe and left the house, remembering to lock the door as I left. I've done a few more favors for Jack since then. I drove a BMW to a random park in another city, only to get out and drive a different car back to Jack's house. He had me meet one of his employees at lunch, who then gave me a briefcase to deliver to the first house I had gone to and told me he would know if I looked inside. On several occasions, he asked me to drive down to that same house and stay with a guy whose name was Julio for a certain amount of time. In total, I've made $3,500. Most recently, Jack asked me to stay in his house overnight. I woke up to a text message from him. I need you to spend the night at my house. I hadn't ever seen him in person, but I had talked to him on the phone a few times. He proceeded to tell me he would pay me $1,000 to spend the night at his house, provided that I follow a few rules. I drove to his house that evening. The driveway was empty, and it normally was, but the porch light was on. I walked up, unlocked the door, went inside, and locked it again. Everything in the house looked the same. Jack had told me over the phone that he would leave the list of rules on the dining room table. I set all my stuff down in the living room. My bags looked like garbage compared to the fancy furniture in there. I wandered into the kitchen and then to the dining room. Sure enough, there was a piece of paper on the wooden table held down by an empty glass. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. If the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If closed, sleep in any of the bedrooms. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night? What the fuck are these rules? I made sure to follow all the rules. To be honest, I was regretting my decision, but seeing as I was already here and I was getting paid, I decided to stay anyway. I figured, as long as I followed all the rules, I'd be perfectly fine. Still, it felt a little odd. What was this, a haunted house? Nevertheless, I lounged around the house for a few hours as I was planning on going to sleep around 9, since that's the time that all the weird shit would begin to happen. At 8:50, I brushed my teeth, using the faucet for the last time before 9. I checked the closet in the hallway, and upon seeing that it was open, I moved my stuff into the library and got ready to sleep on the couch. I locked the doors just in case and laid on the couch scrolling through my phone. I hadn't gotten any more messages from Jack, and I was starting to think up scenarios and reasons as to why he had such strict, peculiar sets of rules in his house. I dozed off at some point because at exactly 10:16 p.m., I was woken up by the doorbell ringing. I was about to get up to check, but then I remembered the rule. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. I stayed on the couch, trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. Hello, welcome in, Raiders. Odessa, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Hello, Devil Shadow Darko. Hello, the Darkest Derp. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in, Bumblebee. Hello, Itosai. Hello, Viridian. Odessa, how are you? How was stream? Hello, Bowfront. Hello, Silent Viewer. Hello, Vila. Hello, Nully Side. Hello, welcome, Serotonin. Bandito, hello. Welcome in, ahoy Raiders.
I hope you guys had a great time with Odessa. She was probably talking about how she did something like 58 covers this past year. Congratulations also, by the way, for doing your taxes, Odessa. I have not done my taxes yet. I should probably do them soon. But welcome in. Today we are doing my ASMR bedtime story because we hit my incentives because I'm raising money for a new PC because my computer has crashed a couple times during stream in the past 2 years. And so, you know, we are trying to raise funds. You are so up on the Odessa lore, girl. Even though we don't talk often, I'm always following up on your news and updates, okay? I know what's going on in the Odessa universe. But guys, if you haven't had a chance from my community, please go check out Odessa. She is one of the soprano singers in VTSO, a very accomplished musician, putting out a ton of covers on her own and contributing also to the VTSO cover, like official covers that are coming out. So yeah, go check her out. File an extension and wait to see if Doge gets rid of the IRS. You know, I was considering filing an extension for my taxes. If you owe taxes and you file an extension, do you owe interest on the taxes you owe? I'm just wondering. Into the Odessaverse. If you have any trouble with saying my full username, then you can just call me either Devil, Shadow, or Darko as usable nicknames. Of course, welcome in. Yeah, so today we are doing some ASMR bedtime stories, and what better way than to read some stories from No Sleep. We are reading a story from August of 2021. The title is My Sugar Daddy Asked Me for Weird Favors. So basically, this girl matched with someone on Tinder, and he's had her run some really weird favors, none sexual. It's just been really weird. Like, drop off this briefcase at this location. Don't look inside. I'll know if you look. Put a box inside my house. Make sure you lock the door when you come in and lock the door when you leave. Things like that. So we're, just going through the story right now. If you owe on the current year, yeah, do you pay interest if you file an extension if you owe on like the current year? How do I get a product from your booth? Oh, I have the link pinned for the Donathon. If you guys want to see, this is what we're at. So if you donate $10, you get a sticky note with your name on it, and it's one of these heart sticky notes that you can see here on your screen. And then we have actually reached the ketchup at Viet Food, and this time I promised to eat my entire meal with ketchup, which we already met that. The next couple of ones are going to be Final Fantasy 14 PvP, which I've never done for anyone on stream. It's because I get really toxic. And then there are a few other incentives like my anime expo outfit because I'll be going to anime expo, a retelling of my Valentine's Day date. I'm not a huge horror person, so one of the incentives is playing Backrooms Buff Doge Horror. And if you guys know anything about me, I love playing Jump King. One of the last incentives, if we meet it, is I will not play any Jump King on stream until my current game redeems are done. So, Odessa, thank you so much for the dono. I appreciate you. What color of a post-it would you like? I assume either purple or red, but please let me know what color post-it, and then I can get you a little post-it on our screen here. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, also because it is a kissing booth donathon, you get 1 kiss for your dono. And you also, I am widening myself. So here is a slight wide for the dono. Thank you. Let me mark down here. Let's go red because there's lots of purple. There are a lot of purples. Did you like your kiss? One of my viewers was like, wow, your kiss is so wet, princess. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That's just how I kiss, I guess. Wet kisses. The whitening continues. It's true. Princess Wideska. It's true. We are quite wide. Let me get this post-it going for you. And then I can put you here. Oh, your name just perfectly fits inside the heart, by the way. So let's save this PNG, and then I'm gonna get you added to the scene here. Plus, oh, hold on. It's gonna be over here. Plus Odessa. But aside from catching chat up to your, aside from catching chat up with your taxes and things like that, what did you guys talk about today? What were you guys up to? Here you go, Odessa. And we're going to grab the transform here and then copy transform here. Nope, it's paste. Copy, paste. I'm gonna put you right here. All right, thank you very much for your dono, Odessa. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And thank you for bringing your community here. Also, if you need to raid and run, please don't feel the need to like stick around. I know it must be super tiring after you've been streaming for a while. Gonna be here reading for maybe like another hour or so. And then, you know, I'll pass you guys along for a good bedtime. It was lovely. Today was lots of yapping, some about taxes, some about correct methods of eating candy bars. Ew, wait, you mean scraping your butterfinger? Is that, am I remembering that correctly from last year when you talked about scraping your butterfingers? Like the chocolate off of your butterfingers first? A little Infinity Nikki for the gacha? I kind of wanted to play that. Everyone's been playing it. It's such a cute game. Why would you say ew? Because it's such a psycho way of eating your chocolates. I don't know. You crazy? It's delicious. Okay, all right, girl. All right, go get your, you know, after stream self-care, okay? Don't stay on my account. We're gonna continue this no sleep story. All right, so this was one of the rules that she had to follow because she was house sitting for her sugar daddy, right? Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. I stayed on the couch, trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. It's the police! Open up! I didn't move. Hello? It's the police! Open up or we're coming in! I still didn't move, but I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. There was silence for a while after that. Then the doorbell rang again. Hey, it's Jack! Let me in! It sounded like Jack, but still, I didn't get up. He would have a key, wouldn't he? Why would he need me to let him in? This continued for almost a full hour. Different people would ring the doorbell, announce themselves, and then disappear when I didn't respond. I was finally able to fall asleep, and the gardener never came. When I woke up the next morning, I heard someone in the kitchen. I got up slowly and unlocked the door as quietly as possible. I'm going to drink some water. Taking my phone with me and walking across the living room and into the kitchen. I stopped at the entrance and peered in. It was Jack. He was standing in front of the stove, stirring something as the coffee machine brewed coffee on the counter behind him.
"Hey, good morning," he said when he saw me. "Hi," I replied, nervous. I hadn't seen him in person before, but he looked exactly like his pictures online. "Scrambled eggs?" he asked, motioning to the pan with a wooden spoon. "Yeah, thanks," I replied, walking over to take the plate from him. I ate my breakfast and drank some coffee in silence. "So how was it?" he asked. "It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened," I replied. "Cool," he replied. There was an awkwardness in the room. "I think I'm gonna go now. I have class." I trailed off. I didn't, but I really wanted to get out of there. "Oh, no, yeah, sure. I'll talk to you some other time," he replied. I grabbed my stuff, and he walked me to my car. I could see him standing in the driveway, staring at me as I left. When I got home, I unpacked all my stuff, and I noticed I still had the list with me. I sat on my bed and read it again. I felt my body tense up, and I realized that I had forgotten to do something. "Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Turn the TV... Oh, I'm getting shivers. I'm getting goosebumps. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Do not forget to do this." I stared at the words on the page until they lost meaning. I stared, beside me, my phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. It was the $1,000 payment. Ah, pee pee my pants. Hi, Mizu. Welcome in. Can we get a shout out for Mizu? Oh, that's I'm scared. I looked at my phone and then back at the list. Maybe it wasn't an important step? As I was thinking this over, a text from Jack came in. "I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week, so you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment. Go do something fun." Winky face. I stared at the message and read it again. And again. And once more for good measure. I'm not in town right now. I thought back to this morning and how Jack was in his house, how he gave me breakfast. I'm not in town right now. Getting goosebumps. Within minutes, a new text came in, this time from a number that I didn't recognize. "Did you forget to do something?" Winky face. The text was followed by a picture of Jack, or whoever this version of Jack was, standing in front of the TV. It didn't respond. Next came another picture. This one was of the outside of my house. It was followed by another text. "Watch out." I don't like it. I didn't like that. She also didn't lock the door when she left. I thought that the rule was to lock the door when you came in and also lock the door when you left. Okay, anyway, so that was no sleep for August 2021. Scary, spoopy. All right, let's see. Do you guys want another no sleep story? Um, are we recommending no sleeps? Do you want me to read one? I can read one for you. We're just going through the top of all time. So I have a few favorites. Sure. Which one? I'll Oh heck, I missed the ending. So to summarize, Cap, she did not turn the TV on to static throughout the night. She woke up and Jack was making breakfast and he offered her some. She ate some eggs and then needed to go. And then when she went home, Jack walked her to her car, and when she went home, she had the rules still on, like, in her bag, and she read the message that said, "Don't forget to turn the TV on. Like, do not forget to do this." And then Jack sends her a text saying, "Hey, I'm out of town right now. So, I just sent the payment. Go do something fun." Yeah, that was the top of all time. Have you done "My wife has been peeking at me"? I haven't. That's the second scariest of all time. Would you like me to read, since you rated in, would you like me to read "My wife has been peeking at me from around corners and behind furniture"?
We can read that. Do number 2. Oh god, am I gonna get goosebumps? It's so scary. Okay, this one is Scariest Story 2022. Okay. So this one is a scary story of 2022. And the title is, My wife has been peeking at me from around corners and behind furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying. My wife Lynn and I have been together for 6 years and married for 11 months. Our entire history together has been very normal, and never once have I noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. I can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing is for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. She's always been the no-nonsense type of person. Being childish or trying to scare me is not something she'd normally do. She doesn't even like watching horror movies. When we first started dating, she agreed to watch The Shining with me because she knew how much I loved horror. She was so scared that she didn't even make it through half of the movie before we had to turn it off. She isn't into anything creepy and has never been into pranks. It's just not her cup of tea. And that's fine, but that's what was so strange about this. It's just so unlike her. I should also add that she never had any mental health issues, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't run in her family. I know some people are able to hide their mental health problems, but in the 6 years we've been together, I think I'd have seen some sort of sign. 2 months ago, I was in the kitchen making myself some coffee before work. I was running a bit late that morning, and I knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts for my usual morning fix. I took a sip of my coffee as I hurried down the hall towards the front door when I happened to notice Lynn peeking at me from around the corner ahead of me. I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long, dark hair hanging against the wall. Duncan mentioned! I saw that, Odessa, and I was like, this is why Odessa likes this story. There's Dunkin' Donuts. Also, did you hear about the recall for the donuts? Don't buy donuts from Dunkin' Donuts right now. Or is it Krispy Kreme? I can't remember where the recall was from. Just don't eat donuts right now. It's bad for you. You'll get sick. The rest of her body was concealed behind the corner. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw her. I did burn the shit out of my lips. Geez, Lynn, I said, wiping a few drops of coffee from my pants. You scared the shit out of me. She immediately popped out of view like a little kid that had been caught. I heard her scurry off towards the living room, and by the time I got to the front door, she was out of sight. It was really weird, and just totally out of character for her, like I said, but I also find it kind of funny that she was being more playful and a little less serious. I shouted that I loved her, called her a weirdo. As I shut the door behind me, I heard her laughing. Her behavior was a bit odd, but it certainly wasn't something to call a priest over. I forgot about it by lunch, and by the time I got home, she was her normal self. I didn't bring it up, and neither did she, and life went on. The next incident happened 3 days later. It was around 2 a.m., and I had woken up to get a drink. I was standing at the kitchen island, jug of OJ in hand, when I felt a strong feeling that I was being watched. For whatever reason, I looked down at the floor and saw my wife's smiling face staring back. She was peeking at me from the other side of the island, staring up at me with wide and blinking eyes and grinning. Grinning like the Cheshire Cat. I screamed, I'll admit it. Not out of irritation, but fear. For some reason, at that moment, I was scared. At the sound of my scream, Lynn scuttled backwards out of my view, her hands and feet smacking the tile floor as she hurried out of the kitchen on all fours. Also fucking scary. Why would she crawl around her house like a fucking animal? I didn't run after her or even yell after her. I just stood there frozen in shock, wondering what the fuck had possessed her to do that. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to go back upstairs, but I eventually did. When I got to our bedroom, Lynn was lying on her side, asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stood there for a while, watching her breathing to be sure she really was asleep. I had the feeling she might jump out at me the moment I got into bed, but she didn't. I climbed into bed, and she didn't even move. Her breathing was soft and deep, and I was starting to wonder if I'd dreamt the whole thing.
That ain't no human, for sure. The next morning, I waited for her to come down for coffee. After handing her a mug and kissing her cheek, I decided to ask her about it. "What was that about last night?" I asked, keeping my tone light so I didn't offend or embarrass her. She frowned over her cup of coffee, shaking her head like she had no clue what I was referring to. "You were peeking at me again, from over there," I said, pointing to the spot on the floor by the kitchen island. She followed my gaze, and when she looked back at me, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that I couldn't help but join her. "You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know that?" I said. She giggled and set her cup on the counter and wrapped her arms around my neck. "You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even," she teased. Why is she not curious about what he's talking about if she doesn't know? We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy it had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sounds her hands made on the floor as she crawled away. I told myself she was just trying to be silly, just trying to join me in my love of all things horror. It's not like I was afraid of her, but it still didn't sit right with me. I started seeing her peeking at me more and more. Sometimes she'd be peeking out from behind the couch or living room curtains. Once, she even managed to get inside her grandmother's old trunk that sits at the foot of our bed. Fuck no, get the fuck out of there. I might not have even known she was there at all had the trunk's old hinges not given her away. She'd had the lid propped up just enough so that only half of her face peeked through. She'd been grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. I didn't even know what to say to her. All I could do was stare. When I finally found my voice, I asked her why on earth she was doing this. She didn't answer, but she had slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I just walked away feeling disturbed? No, you should fucking open the trunk and ask your wife what the fuck she's doing. Why aren't you curious at all? Why are you just ignoring her? Pack your bags and leave. Just leave. Hit the bricks. It's okay to just go. It's just a prank, bro. I didn't understand why she was doing it, but it clearly made her happy. I just hoped she would tire of the game quickly. Lynn didn't peek at me for the next 2 weeks. I started to think she was done with her weird prank, and I was relieved. We were watching a show on Netflix one night, and I jokingly said that I hadn't seen her peeking at me lately, and that she must have given up on her spy game. She looked up at me with a small smile and said, "Maybe I've just gotten better at it." I didn't say anything, but I wondered whether or not she was joking. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said. Was she still peeking at me when I wasn't looking and I just hadn't noticed? Odessa saying, "No." In these stories, they need to normalize just leaving and getting out of there. Oh my god, you're so right, Shama Wolf. You're just leave. Hit the bricks like the share zone skeleton, okay? Just go. And if so, what the hell was she getting out of this? I started to feel paranoid, constantly checking whether she was watching from around the corner or behind a door. I was jumpy whenever I was home and she wasn't in full view of me. I felt stupid and a little crazy. But after a few weeks without another incident, I began to relax. I stopped checking behind furniture and walls and told myself it was just a bad memory. Hi, Yoshi, welcome in. Nice to see you. Maybe I've just gotten better at it, has me cracking up. And then a few days ago, things got so much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's, and I lounged on the couch and played a couple games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower, and as I was washing the soap from my hair, also, question to you guys, when you guys shower, do you guys ever close your eyes fully in the shower? I only do it for, like, the briefest second, and then my eyes are open again. Like, maybe this is just me. I don't close my eyes in the shower. Yeah, I'm so scared
scared something is gonna attack me. Yeah. I'm so scared something is gonna attack me in the shower. Is this just a me thing? Wait, am I the only person that does this? Yeah, so like when I when I'm in the shower, the first thing I'll do is I'll wash my hair, right? But like when I wet my hair, I'll put my hand like on my hairline and I'll let the water soak my hair up to there, and then I'll soap up my hair, and then when I rinse my hair, again I put my hands on my hairline, and then I don't let the water pass my face. And then I'll wash my body like normal, right? And the very last thing I'll do is like I'll wet my face a little with my hands, with water, right? With my hands, and then I'll soap up my face to wash my face. And then the only time I close my eyes in the shower is is the moment that I like fully wash my face and rinse off the soap from my face, and that's it. And then for the rest of the shower, my eyes are open the entire time. No, Misu, don't say that. This is the moment the grudge monster is looking. How dare you? Close my eyes and I rinse out my hair. Every day I learn new things about my best friend. She contains infinite multitudes. It's true, I'm confusion. I always close my eyes like tight shut to keep shampoo out. No, if you just hold your hand to the... Aren't you guys scared that a monster is gonna come out when you close your eyes in the shower? It's like when you sleep and you have to have your feet covered by like a blanket or something, right? Like so the monster doesn't pull at your legs. Okay, anyways, okay. Okay. And by that logic, you should never close your eyes and go to sleep because you're equally vulnerable then for an extended... Okay, but when you go to sleep, you're wrapped by a blanket, so the blanket is protecting you. Are you morning or night showering? I'm night showering, and also, you don't understand, right now, my bathroom, like, the corner where the shower is like fucking dark as hell. Isn't your door locked? Yeah, I mean, the shower door is locked, but still, why the fuck would the blanket protect you? I don't know, there's just something magical about your comforter that, like, protects you from all harm and evil, you know? Definition of someone who has watched so many horror films, but that's the thing, Shama Wolf, I don't watch any horror. The dark corner where the ghosts live. What if a monster comes out of the drain? How dare you ever? How dare you make me scared of the shower drain? I know a really scary story about that blanket protection. I want you to keep that to yourself, Cap. You should never show me that story. Okay, maybe I'm the only person who doesn't close their eyes when they shower. Princess Liz, the Weenie Hut Jr. Have you seen those plumber snakes? What if it's all in your head? I mean, maybe, but I'm not gonna chance it. I'm not risking it. Okay. Sorry, back to the story here. At 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower and as I was washing the soap from my hair, I felt that awful feeling that I was being watched. I slowly opened my eyes and almost had a fucking heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain. Her entire head stretched into the shower, leaving just her body outside. Her long dark hair hung against the curtain, the ends dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red as if she hadn't blinked in a while. I screamed and jumped back against the wall. She didn't move, nor did her smile waver. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in 2 black streaks. She looked giddy and completely deranged. I was fucking terrified. We stood like that for a few moments, neither of us saying a word. Finally, after what felt like forever, she slowly pulled her head back out of the shower, and I watched her blurry figure through the curtain as she moved back towards the bathroom door. A second later, the bathroom door slammed shut, hard enough to rattle the mirror. I screamed again and jumped out of the shower to lock the door. I stayed inside the bathroom for over an hour. Maybe I overreacted to some of you, but joke or not, I wasn't going to put up with the crazy shit anymore.
That's what I kept telling myself as I paced in my bathroom, stopping to listen at the door every few minutes. Suddenly, I heard a muffled sound and I pressed my ear against the bathroom door, straining to listen. I couldn't hear anything, but I envisioned Lynn standing on the other side of the door, giggling at her joke. I felt a surge of anger. I was beyond pissed at being made to feel scared in my own house and made to hide in the bathroom for an hour. All for what? Some joke? If it was a joke, it was an awful one. What the fuck, Lynn? I snapped. This shit is getting really fucking annoying. I waited for her to apologize or to call me a jerk, but instead I heard a faint moan. So quiet I wondered if I had heard it at all, and then complete silence. Just leave? Man, that's not your wife. That's a demon. I'm a fan of horror. Maybe that's why I'm like, brother, I will KO that ghost or demon. He can't ever. He's naked still. He's vulnerable. Go through the window. Lynn? I called out, not able to even hide the shakiness in my voice. I got no response, just my own heavy breathing. I swear to God, just fucking stop it! I yelled, pounding my fist on the door. I waited for her to cuss me out, something I would expect from me talking to her like that. I never screamed at her before. But there was nothing. Just the occasional drip from the shower head. I won't deny that I was scared, too afraid to open the damn door and face my own wife. I waited another 30 minutes or so, which feels like a fucking lifetime when you're scared. Finally, I decided I wasn't going to spend the night hiding in my bathroom. So I got down on my knees. No, 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 no! Why would you do that? No, 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 no! Hold on, I'm getting scared. I'm getting nervous. Naked or no, brother needs to choose life. He can run away naked or die naked. Okay. I got down on my knees and peered under the door. Oh, brother, please. I almost expected to see her face peeking back at me, but thankfully I didn't. Okay, good. I could see straight down the hallway to the top of the stairs, but no Lynn. I didn't know if I should be happy about that or not. I looked for a few minutes, waiting to see her head pop up over the top step, but it never came. I stood up, my hand hovering over the door, and mentally prepared myself to open it. I slowly turned the lock with shaky fingers and was about to yank it open when I heard a sound that still makes me feel nauseous when I think about it. A moan. Louder than before, but this time I was able to just tell where it was coming from. I turned my head to the closet door as if in slow motion and locked my eyes with my wife, who was peeking out at me from the slight gap. Her eyes were still wide, and her mouth was hanging open in the most grotesque gaping smile I'd ever seen. I didn't even scream. I was too scared for even that. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with sheer delight as if she could barely contain her excitement. A short, raspy moan bubbled up from her throat, deep and raw, sending a shiver through my entire body. Somehow, I found the ability to pull the bathroom door open and ran as fast as I could all the way down the steps, snagging my keys and phone from the table in the living room before running outside to my car. I could hear her shrill laughter behind me, but I didn't hear her getting closer. I didn't bother shutting the front door. I drove away from the house faster than I legally should have, shivering the entire time, either from fear or the cold, maybe a little of both. I hadn't even grabbed a coat or even a pair of shoes. I was still in my boxers and my hair was still damp. I drove straight to my brother Chris's house, about 40 minutes away, ignoring any and every call and text I got. I didn't check my phone until I was safely parked in my brother's driveway. Lynn had called 4 times and sent a flurry of texts, wondering where I'd gone and why I left like that. I threw my phone at the dash in a rage, furious at her nonchalant attitude. My brother and his wife were surprised to see me. especially dressed in just a pair of boxers, but told me to stay as long as I needed. Chris lent me some clothes and asked me what happened. I told him Lynn and I had a fight, but didn't get into the details. Didn't want him to think I was overreacting, leaving my wife over a prank, even if it was a strange one. I mean, hadn't I encouraged her for years to lighten up instead of being so serious all the time? I had wanted her to relax and loosen up, but this was definitely not what I had in mind.
Looking around every corner of my room thinking I'll see her. Stop, Odessa! Stop! Nah, brother. Now leave her. She's collateral. Just leave.
I tried to sleep on their sofa, but my brain wouldn't let me sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face staring at me from inside the closet. Knowing she'd been in there with me the entire time made my skin crawl. She'd never left the fucking bathroom at all. Instead, she slipped inside the closet and slammed the bathroom door shut to fool me.
No. The mere thought of going back home gave me anxiety. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Chris ended up giving me a sleeping pill so I was able to get a little rest. My sleep was filled with terrible dreams, all of Lynn's smiling face. You won't see Lynn, you'll see someone in your life like your partner or roommate peeking at you. Thanks, Ever. Great. I hope Ash just peeks at you from around the furniture. I woke up just as the sun started. What if I was peeking at you? Can you not do that, maybe? You're not supposed to be inside my house. Stop. I have plushies, and there are so many spaces and gaps in between my bookshelf that you could be peeking at me from. Stop it. Stop it right now. Stop. No. Not perfect for peeking. I'm scared. I hate you guys for making me read this. I woke up just as the sun started to rise. My sore body ached from the sofa and I felt drained. I knew I'd have to call Lynn at some point, but I didn't know what to say to her. I wouldn't be going home unless she gave me her word she'd never do any more creepy shit. Didn't you volunteer to read this? Wow, don't want your best friend in your house? I mean, I did, but this is a really scary story. I just wanted my wife back. Her normal, serious self never looked so good to me. I was contemplating calling her and telling her that, when that familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. I was staring at the ceiling, my heart in my throat. I didn't want to look away, but the longer I ignored the feeling, the worse it got. My eyes drifted away from the ceiling almost on their own. Her face was pressed up against the window beside the couch, staring down at me with that same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving 2 long streaks down the glass. I didn't know how long she'd been there, but something told me she'd been there quite a while, possibly all night. I didn't bother screaming, though. I was afraid anger trumped any fear I felt at that moment. I jumped up from the couch and pounded my palm against the glass. Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home! I shouted. Now! Nope! Odessa just goes, nope, I'm out of here. I know, shake my head. To go on a trip with her acting like that to you. Ash, it's not hot. Stop. She didn't move, and her ghastly expression never changed. If anything, her smile only grew, as if she had never been more elated. I could hear Chris and his wife moving around upstairs, as if Lynn could hear them from her place outside. Her head twitched slightly in their direction, and she began to close her mouth slowly. Chris called my name from upstairs, obviously concerned. I turned to see him and his wife Rebecca hurrying down the steps. When I turned back to the window, Lynn was gone. The only sign she'd been there at all was the 2 streaks of drool still dripping down the glass.
I tried explaining to Chris and Rebecca about waking up to see Lynn watching me through their window. They were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? Chris and I went outside to the spot in front of the window, but there were no footprints in the dirt. Just a slight indent. Animal, probably, Chris guessed, and I didn't argue. He and Rebecca assumed I dreamt the entire episode, but they didn't understand, and I was too tired to explain it to them. I called out of work that day and turned my cell off. I didn't want to face Lynn. Just talking to her was too much for me at that point. I really started to believe something was irreversibly wrong with her, that no matter what promises she made, we'd never be the same again. The thought saddened me to my core. I cried most of the morning. By noon, I figured I was ready to confront her, give her one last chance to explain herself. I could at least give her that after 6 years, I told myself. I turned my phone on and saw the dozens of texts she'd sent me, all from a seemingly concerned wife. You gonna have to constantly live with lights on? Time to call a certain demon slayer. Princess will never sleep with the lights off again. If you sleep with the lights on, your enemies can see you more clearly to strike you. Wow. Thanks, Ever. What a nice thought to put in my head after I've been reading all of these stories for the last 3 hours. Grabs holy water and spray bottle. Can someone send me express shipping holy water tonight before I go to bed? Got you, girl. You need a new best friend ever. Okay, here are Lynn's texts. Can we talk? I love you. Please call me. I'm really worried. Can you answer? Just come home. And more of the same. All texts telling me she loved me and she wanted me home. How worried she was. Not a damn one addressing the crazy shit she pulled. Like she hadn't been acting like a character from a Stephen King book. Even her texts were different. She normally texted novels just to tell me to pick up a loaf of bread. You'd think she'd have more to say to me after her bizarre shenanigans? I know it probably seems childish to some of you who are miles away from the situation, but if you saw the way Lynn had looked at me, how she scampered away on all fours like some wild animal grinning at me from inside the closet like a lunatic, then I think you'd find my reaction was warranted. I ended up staying with Chris and Rebecca for another night. I didn't wake up yesterday until afternoon, and thankfully I didn't see Lynn's face watching me through the window. I didn't want to pry because it's not my place. But is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She'd made us both a sandwich for lunch, and I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming to be nosy. I don't know, she's like a different person, I said, choosing my words carefully. I still wasn't ready for her or Chris to know the full extent of the batshit craziness I had been dealing with. People change, Ben, but she's still the same woman you married. Maybe you both just need to talk through your issues. Whatever is going on, I'm sure it can be fixed, she said, ever the peacemaker. I think it's beyond that now. I don't think talking would help. I just don't trust her, I said. The words stung in my heart. I missed and loved my wife, but how could I live with someone like that? Living in constant fear didn't sound too appealing. Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed, she said. I don't know about that, I said. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I've never seen her so upset, very much unlike the Lynn I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. It took a full minute for her words to really sink in, and when they did, I felt dread worming its way through my skin. Wait, what do you mean? You saw her? You saw Lynn? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Rebecca nodded casually, as if that fact wasn't nightmare fuel. Maybe for her it wasn't. She stopped by this morning just after Chris left for work, she said, cleaning the plates from the table. I didn't see her car, though. Maybe she took an Uber or something? Beck, what did she say? Did she come inside? I asked. Sweat starting to break out on my forehead, I began looking around, examining corners as though a predator lurked behind them. No, she just asked if you were awake yet, and I said that you weren't. I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no. Just said to let you sleep, she said as she washed the dishes. That's all? She didn't say anything else? I asked. No. She looked awful, though, like she hadn't slept in days. I think you should call her. I got up from the table and thanked Rebecca for lunch. I felt a little bit better at the knowledge that at least she hadn't come inside. Still, I needed to double check that the doors were locked. Jover, just leave! I sat for a while, trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't want to go home, but I felt that I owed it to Lynn to help her if I could. Hadn't I swore an oath to love and honor her through sickness and in health? Clearly, she was very sick. If she was sick, which I truly believed she was, I had to try and get her the help she needed. But I didn't even know where to start. I didn't want to call the police, and besides, what the hell was I going to tell them? That my wife was peeking at me? That she was being creepy? As bizarre as she'd been, she still hadn't committed any crime. Not yet, anyway. The police would probably said that I was overreacting, but this wasn't some prank. It felt wrong. Dangerous even, like something sinister lurked beneath her smile. I knew as her husband, I was well within my rights to have her committed. But what if she simply acted normal in their presence? She'd obviously been able to fool Rebecca into thinking she was just a concerned wife. As long as the doctors didn't find her a danger to herself or others, they'd have no choice but to release her after 72 hours. I felt lost and overwhelmed. Is this what D-Day Boy has to worry about if he ever makes you watch a horror movie? Are you going to start acting up like this? D-Day Boy would have to convince her to open her eyes during a horror movie. My eyes would be closed fucking shut. I know how to help her. Step 1, fill your car. Step 2, drive far, far away. I would never peek at someone from behind furniture. I find that sounds very scary. No contact, just leave. Just leave. So I did what any husband in my position would do. I called her mother. I didn't want to, believe me. Her mother, Marianne, and I were never on the best of terms. We'd never fought or anything like that. She just wasn't a very warm person and wasn't really easy to get along with. I would be a terrible horror protagonist because in any given scenario, I would just leave. I have instead of a fight or flight, you guys know how like the response is to fight or to leave. Instead, I have the third response, which is terrible. My response, which would result in in immediate death, is freeze. Okay, this happened a lot in paranormal, Phasmophobia, where the ghost would start to hunt, and instead of running, I literally would just drop everything and freeze. Couldn't do anything, just freeze and die. I'm like that fawn that crosses the road in the middle of the night with lights shining in their face, and instead of leaving or fighting, I just freeze. Not the freeze response. You did pretty great in Lethal Company, at least. I mean, I guess, but it was still very scary. Hi, Cords, welcome in. Can we get Cords a shout out, please? Thank you. She just wasn't a very warm person and wasn't really easy to get along with. She hardly ever smiled, and when she did, only her lips would move into a thin-lipped smile, leaving her eyes as blank as before. She gave off this aura that felt like she was permanently on the offensive. I'd only met her twice, and both times were for such short visits. I got the impression she didn't approve of me for her daughter. Lynn always ushered us out quickly, as she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, which I was grateful for. Being in her mother's company felt almost unbearable, like walking on glass. I was glad when we moved 3 states away, so we didn't have to see her often. I was happy to avoid the woman, but I needed her help. I really didn't want to talk to her at all, but I had to talk to someone, and someone who knew Lynn better than I did, so I grit my teeth and did what I had to. Yes, she answered, already sounding irritated. Marianne, it's me, Ben. Do you have a minute to talk? I asked. I could hear her cluck her tongue in irritation. I'm in the middle of writing some checks, but if you insist, I suppose I can spare a moment. What is it that you want to discuss, Benjamin? She said coolly. It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely, and I was wondering if you had any idea whether there was something. I was quickly interrupted. It's a bit difficult to follow your rambling, Benjamin. What is it that you want from me? She asked. I could almost see her standing there in her thin sweater and slacks, tapping her fingernails impatiently on the table. Of course, Corns. Hope you've had fun this past week. Yes, it has been quite fun. Only twice after knowing her for 11 years? I know, right? Crazy. I wanted to know if you've ever noticed any odd behavior or possibly any mental health issues, I asked. There was a long, uncomfortable pause that I couldn't tell was because she was just thinking or something else. Finally, after a few seconds, she spoke. I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if so, I don't find the humor in it. Now, I do have business to attend to, as I've said, so if you don't mind, she said, but I cut her off before she could get rid of me. Marianne, it's not a joke. I'm sincerely concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior has been very erratic lately. I'm very worried about her, and I figured as her mother you would be as well, I said, my frustration evident in my voice. If you're truly concerned, then I suggest you get the health professionals involved. I don't know what you expect of me, she snapped. I could tell she was seconds away from hanging up, and for some reason I was desperate not to let her. I had the feeling that she knew a lot more than she was letting on. Please, if not for me, do it for Lynn, I tried. I heard a faint, shaky intake of breath, as if she were trying to hold her steely persona together but failing. Marianne? What's wrong? I started. Benjamin, I don't know what to tell you. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again. Goodbye. I tried to call out to her, but she'd hung up. I tried to wrap my head around the call and her refusal to help me. Even if she didn't like me, why wouldn't she want to help her own daughter? I couldn't understand that. I tried to replay the conversation, desperate to find something I missed. After a while, I almost gave up until I remembered her last words to me. Seek professional help. She'd said those words with a bit of urgency. I could have been grasping at straws, but no, I was sure her voice had changed ever so slightly when she'd said that. As if they were very important. What had she meant? I assumed she'd been referring to medical professionals, but maybe she was referring to someone else. Someone that she didn't, for some reason, feel comfortable saying directly, or maybe I was just desperate. I waited for Chris to get home. And after a very long and exhausting conversation with him and Rebecca, I convinced them that Lynn truly needed psychiatric help. I didn't tell them everything. I wasn't prepared to go into it yet, but I told them about our last encounter, how she'd hidden in the bathroom, peeking at me from the closet. They were obviously shocked, but thankfully they believed me. They too just wanted to help her. Still, they didn't think it was all that serious. Weird, maybe, but not dangerous. They just kept saying that Lynn had to be playing some kind of weird joke. Maybe for YouTube? Rebecca offered, if only half-heartedly. Chris didn't think we should involve the police just yet. He offered instead to go with me, and I readily accepted. He reasoned that calmly talking to her, trying to coax her into going willingly, was the best recourse. I agreed to do it his way. At least I wouldn't be going into that house alone. We drove over this morning just after breakfast. There was no way I was going at night. When we pulled into the driveway, my stomach began doing somersaults. Her car wasn't there, but I still didn't let my guard down. The front door was ajar, and for a split second, I thought we'd see her eyes staring through the gap. I was shaking and starting to sweat. Chris, however, was fine. He was waiting for me to open the door, his hands in his pockets like he was going on a fucking stroll through the park. I envied his ignorance. Welcome in, duo. I pushed the door open and was immediately hit with the stench of rot. Chris smelled it too, and he walked in the house behind me with his nose scrunched up. What do you guys use to clean the floors around here? Shit? Chris mumbled. Shut up, I said, my eyes darting around for any signs of Lynn. The house was deadly quiet and dark despite being 10 in the morning. All the curtains were closed up tight, refusing to allow any sunlight inside. I hadn't left it just 2 days prior, I'd have thought the house to be abandoned. If I hadn't left it just 2 days prior, I'd have thought the house to be abandoned. We moved through each room, carefully checking any place that she might hide, occasionally calling her name. Why the fuck are you looking under the couch? Chris asked eventually. Aren't we looking for your wife? He was looking at me like I was a moron. Let's just go upstairs, I whispered. He shook his head, but followed me up the stairs to check the bathroom and spare bedroom. On the way up, my shoes crunched over pieces of glass that looked to be littered over a few of the steps. I noticed that one of Lynn and my wedding portraits that hung on the wall along the staircase had been smashed. The frame hung crookedly, all the glass removed. I stared at the picture, a lump forming in my throat. We had taken the photo just after leaving the church, after saying our vows. She looked so beautiful in her white gown. I looked at Lynn's beautiful face. I never dreamed her face would ever be a source of terror for me. We climbed the rest of the steps and checked the spare bedroom, but it looked completely untouched. I was hesitant to go into the bathroom, my fear from that night coming back to me all at once. Chris noticed and offered to go in by himself, but I couldn't let him do that. So we walked in together, checking the closet and the shower. The bathroom looked as if it hadn't been touched since the night I left. I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes and we'll try coming back tomorrow or something? Chris said. I nodded and went into our bedroom and shoved some clothes into a duffel bag. When I checked inside her closet, I came across the source of the smell and gagged. Chris took one look and lost all color in his face. He had to go stand by the stairs to get away from the sight and smell. I gazed down in shock at what lay inside my bedroom closet. Soaking into the rug were at least a dozen eyeballs? Ew! Excuse me? All carefully laid out in pairs. Some were as large as a quarter, while others were as tiny as a marble. I stared down at the eyes she collected from small animals, and I wondered how she'd gotten them and shuddered at the thought. Man, thought I had it bad with Becca's shoe addiction, but fuck me, your wife's in here collecting eyeballs. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I know, ? Eyeballs? Chris said, gagging. Ben, I think we should go, he called from the hall. I'm getting nauseous. All right. I grabbed my duffel and shut the closet door on my new nightmare. I stepped out into the hall and took a deep breath of air. I could taste the rot on my tongue and I couldn't help but gag. Thank you for the head pat. Who the fuck lines up eyeballs in their closet like that? Chris mumbled. I tried to tell you she needed help, I said. She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist, he said. You coming or what? I can't stand the smell any. His words died in his throat and his eyes grew wide with fear. Thank you for the hydrate. Both of them are way too calm in reaction. I started laughing when I got to that part. Why are you laughing? This is scary as hell ever. What the fuck? I didn't ask him why. I could feel it. Someone was watching me, and I didn't think it was the eyes in the closet. I turned around, my eyes slowly scanning the bedroom. Christ, I whispered, as I finally saw what we'd missed. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. She, I have goosebumps. She held her hands together just under her chin, and they were shaking eagerly. Now that she knew she'd been found, I could hear the quiet noises she was making, a sort of hiccuping sound in her throat, as if the excitement was just too much for her. It was unnerving, to say the least, wide eyes and that same huge smile. Everything in me told me to run, but I forced it away. This was my wife. No matter how twisted she was still the woman I married. I had to help her. They made it not scary by having Chris just make funny quips about his wife's hobby. It totally killed the tension. I'm new. Can I have the context? Oh, we're reading the scariest story of 2022 in the No Sleep subreddit. So it's about a man's wife who's been peeking at him from around furniture. Lynn, I said softly. She didn't respond, but her head bobbed back and forth in two quick little movements as if she were nodding. Baby, I just want to help, okay? Can you let me do that? I asked. I had taken a single step forward, approaching her like some kind of dangerous animal. I love you, Lynn, I said softly, taking another step closer. She let a tiny moan escape her wide-open mouth, and I had to resist the urge to run. Her shoulders were starting to quiver, and her eyes grew as large as saucers. I crouched down so I could see her better, and I immediately saw the blood. Her hands were covered in it. They trembled more the closer I got, as if she was barely able to contain herself. Lynn, are you hurt? You're bleeding, I said. She bobbed her head again, her bloody fingers moving up and down as if playing an invisible piano. They occasionally grazed her chin, leaving smears of blood on her skin. I wanted to recoil in disgust. The smell that was coming off of her was revolting. I could feel the vomit trying to climb up my throat. Her lips were dry and stretched thin, blood seeping between the cracks. I knew she wouldn't come out on her own, but I didn't want to leave her in the state she was in. I scooted closer and reached out to her. The excited hiccuping sounds got louder, and her hands shook, fingers flexing. It was then I could see the blood oozing from in between her fingers. Oh my God, Lynn, you're bleeding, I said. Instinctively, I reached out to take her hand, but before I could even touch her, her hand sprang out towards me. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back on my ass. My arm burned, and I could see the blood dripping down onto the carpet. I looked back at her in shock and saw her grinning madly, her fingers clutching a large shard of glass. You all right in there? Chris asked from behind me. I turned my head slightly and nodded to him, cradling my arm to my chest. When I turned back to face Lynn, I saw that her focus had shifted. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She wasn't smiling anymore either. She was staring past me, her eyes glaring at Chris the way a hungry lion might stare at an antelope. Her mouth was still hanging open, but it was twisted into a snarl. I got to my feet and began walking backwards down the hall, afraid to take my eyes off of her. Are you bleeding? Chris asked. The moment the words left his mouth, Lynn started fast, scooting out from under the bed, the glass shard still in her fist. Chris, run! Go! I yelled. He must have been too afraid to move because a second later I felt my back bump into him. He was still standing at the top of the stairs, staring at the horror that was my wife. Lynn had completely crawled out from under the bed and stood in the bedroom doorway, her face twisted in rage. Her whole body was visibly tense. Blood ran down her fingers and onto the floor. Jesus, Lynn, Chris said. You, playing hide and seek? I reached back and pushed him back towards the steps. Move your ass, Chris! I said as quietly but as firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in fast, sharp motions, began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider and wider, so that her chin seemed to touch her chest. I heard Chris mutter a prayer, and then he was running down the stairs. I stood at the top of the steps, stuck between the love for a woman who clearly needed serious help and self-preservation. Gasp, disloyal to the princess, banned again! You can't ban me! I quit! Don't quit my streams, Duo. I would love to have you here all the time. Princess, I want you to know, if I discovered you had a collection of bloody eyeballs you harvested from unknown sources and covered in blood, I would not be this kind. I mean, if I saw that you had a collection of eyeballs in your closet ever, I would literally call the police. Police, please. I don't know what's happening. He also had the freeze response. True. Chris, stop making movie quips and run. I would cover for any of you? No, I'm calling the police on everybody. I only want to help, I said, choking back tears. Her eyes focused on me once again as she slowly lifted the glass, holding it out in front of her. And then she started sprinting towards me, grinning with utter excitement. Thankfully, my body took over and I flew down the stairs, skipping 2 or 3 at a time. I made it to the front door before I felt her leap onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck, her mouth open next to my ear so that I could hear those terrible hiccuping sounds up close. I shook her off me, knocking her to the floor. I felt a searing pain in my back as she went, but I tore open the front door and bolted to my car. Chris was standing in the front yard talking on the phone with the police. I didn't say a word. I just ran to my car and jumped in. Chris took the hint and followed me, still on the line with 911. I watched in the rearview mirror, sure I'd see her there running after us, but I never did. I went straight to the ER and got 11 stitches in my arm and 3 on my back. The police asked a lot of questions and went back to the house to do a search, but, of course, Lynn wasn't there. They advised me to stay with a friend or relative for a while and to file a restraining order as soon as I could, but none of those things would matter. Somehow, I just knew. I dropped Chris off at home and went to a motel an hour away. I wanted to put as much distance between me and Lynn as I could. This is where I've been for the last 4 hours. I thought maybe the police would find her, maybe they'd get her the help she desperately needs. But now I don't think so. Because 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an unknown number, just 3 words. I found you. Ew. And a picture attached. The picture was dark and grainy, but instantly I knew what it was. There was no mistaking my wife's eye. I started typing this out immediately after. I don't know what to do. I'm alone and scared, and I can't help but feel that I'm being watched. Ew, gross. I hate this. Is this supposed to be wholesome? What did I walk into? Eyeballs. I don't like this story. Ew, I have goosebumps and I'm scared. Okay. I think after that... Oops, sorry. Wrong thing. Wrong window. A palette cleanser? I don't... Do you guys have a palette cleanser for me? I don't think I have. Why do I look slightly yellow? Can I not look yellow? Nope, that's not right. Anyways, I don't know what my normal color is. We're just gonna go with that. Cool. Palette cleanser would be a D-Day play-by-play from you? No, you gotta pay money for that. You want me to repeat D-Day? You gotta pay money for that. Let's go look at some dogs. Do you know Therian? I don't know Therian. What's the opposite of no sleep?
What about Humans of New York? Isn't that like a great, like, little life stories? Dog fact, please. Okay, let's read a dog fact here. Yes, sleep. I'm not going to sleep for another 5 hours after that. All right, a random dog. We are going to read about the corded poodle. Origin, France. Although it was very common until the 19th century, the corded poodle has become quite rare today. It has a thick coat with a fine, woolly, and dense texture forming cords which should measure at least 20 centimeters. The standard for this dog was adopted in 1936. In the same year, the Fédération Cynophile Internationale World Canine Organization recognized France as the country of origin, even though it had been suggested at the time that poodles originated in Germany. Like all poodles, the corded poodle loves water and possesses a very good sense of smell. Certain poodles are used today to sniff out drugs and explosives. Although it was a typical dog in French homes for many years, the poodle ceded its place to the Labrador in the 2000s. Ooh, a bomb-sniffing dog. Can we get a visual for this poodle? Sure. Hold on. I closed it. Here, this is the poodle. Let me go back to perhaps a camera here. And peel this off. This is what the corded poodle looks like. Isn't it cute? This is my little book of dogs. And it has like these gold like edges on it. It's so cute. I love it so much. It's such a cute little book. Yeah, isn't it adorable? And let me shut that off. Careful with that golden, very reflective edge. It's true, but it was pointed at the camera, so it's okay. You didn't see my face, but yes, I'm aware. It's a very shiny book edge. Hello, welcome in Legends DM. I'm looking at a Okay. Is there like a good like Humans of New York story? Cuz usually there's some good Humans of New York story, right? What do you mean? I can see your face right now. I love the book as someone who loves doggos. I got this at the AKC museum when I was out in New York with my friends. Um but yeah. Okay, I just grabbed a random Humans of No, stop it, Ever. Why are you saying that to me? Why would you say you're peeking at me? I'm gonna go close all of the doors. I hate you. Why would you say that? This is a short Humans of New York story. It says, I'm teaching my last class in a few hours. I've been a professor of textile design for 20-something years, but it's sort of on an as-needed basis, and there's been a decline in enrollment, so I don't think I'm needed anymore. I'll have to figure out what else to do with my time. I don't want to start binge-watching Netflix. I could always go work as a receptionist somewhere, but I'd like to think I have something particular to express, and that if I pour my energy into it and I'm disciplined enough, then something will come out of it. But it takes bravery to be creative, right? You know, you look at Pinterest or whatever, and it looks like everything's been done already. It's easier to find the confidence when you're 25 or 35 or even 45. You can kind of convince yourself that you're cool and hip and, of the moment. If I was still in my 30s, maybe I'd invest in going to art school or something, but at this age, it's kind of like, is that really worth the investment? At an age where most people are thinking of retiring, it's a question of time. Because how many more years do I have of actually working, creating? But also, it's a self-worth question. If I do a 2-year degree, I'm almost 60. If I do a 4-year degree, I'm definitely 60. You worry about investing all that time, all that money, all that energy, and then kind of being mediocre, at that thing. And that would be hard to swallow at this age, right? You kind of want to finish on top. Not such a great story, but you know, follow your dreams, I guess. Humans of New York, just binge watch Netflix. Make sure to lock the doors and window blinds. Hope you have a plush to hold on to as you sleep at night. I have lots of plushes. So what have we learned today, chat? If there's someone whistling outside your door, don't look at the whistling, okay? Second, if someone offers you a jar of happiness, it just means that you aren't grateful for what you have in life. If you take the jar, all the things in your life will be taken away from you, and once you smash the jar, you will become grateful for all the things you actually have in your life. So maybe learn that lesson early, okay? Third, if someone is peeking at you from behind furniture, tell them to seek help and potentially just have them go seek help from a mental health professional and not wait like 3 months for this to develop further, okay? I like the pink room you're in, princess. Shut the fuck up, duo. I know you guys know my room is pink only because pink is my favorite color and that you guys aren't actually looking at my room. Stop it. I swear. Swear to God. All right. I'm gonna leave. I had a good night, but I'm probably gonna have nightmares for the next month. I hope you guys liked making me scared by telling me to read. Nice pink acrylic nails. I know you also know my nail color because I literally just showed you my nails. Also, princess, thank you, Odessa, for the raid. I love you very much, Odessa. Thank you. You should also say it back to me. Who should we raid into for the rest of the evening? Maybe we should have like a calm, cozy evening. Let's check. Is there any like reading streams? There is a writing and reading category on Twitch, it looks like. I'm quite relaxed. I'm drinking some whiskey before bed. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Who should we raid into? Someone is reading The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. There is someone else here reading Black History Month stories by Frederick Douglass. Okay, I think the person reading Agatha Christie has a better microphone, so I think we'll raid into them. Okay, it's gonna be here. Whiskey before bed, let's go! Of course, thank you, you guys. Oh, I realized you guys haven't been listening to this wonderful music that's been playing in the background. I'm going to go turn on all the lights in my house, and not sleep for a very long time. We're gonna go here. I don't know how they are as a streamer because obviously I'm raiding into them for the first time, but it looks like they are reading. They are reading The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, and it looks like they are a PNG tuber. So let's go check them out. Tell us all about your nightmares on Discord. I will. I will. If I have nightmares, I'll let you guys know all about it. Thank you guys again so much for coming in. Cowboy Chow, thank you for rating into my channel and for the follow. John, thank you for the resubscribe with your Prime. I really appreciate it. Beetle Ian, thank you for the resubscribe for 25 months. Crazy. Baramir, thank you very much for the raid in with your community. Odessa, thank you for the raid in as well. I hope you are so proud that you finished all of your taxes and that you did basically like 1 point something covers a week this past year. Crazy productive lady. And thank you for also donating $10 to my coffee. I really appreciate it. $10 towards my Kissing Booth PC fund. Devil Shadow Darko, thank you for the follow. And Layson, thank you for the follow as well. Tomorrow, no stream. I'm waiting to hear back from my friend. If we are doing dinner, it will continue to be no stream. But if she cancels dinner on me, I might do the Lego hand cam stream for the heart decoration. So we might do that. I'll let you guys know. Hope you can rest well tonight. I will try, but I don't know. After that, I'm not sure. if I'll just see Lynn peeking at me from the gaps in my furniture. Hope your friend cancels. That's so rude. Have a great day full of eyes. Stop it. The hallway shadow is Princess's community. Okay, so this is where we're going to be going. As always, you guys, please be happy. Please be healthy. Oh, hold on. I forgot. Before we go, sorry. I always forget to do the messages. If you are a subscriber, you can copy either raid message. Both will work. If you are not a subscriber, go ahead and copy that second raid message because that will work in any Twitch chat. As always, you guys, please be happy, please be healthy, but most of all, please be kind. Be kind to others because you never know what a smile, hug, or hello can do for someone who's having a bad day. And be kind to yourselves. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Get up and stretch your legs every once in a while. Go touch some grass or go touch some snow. You know, enjoy the sun. Because if you don't, you might get an embolism and then you might die. And then, of course, I'd be sad. Your friends and family would be sad, and your favorite streamer's community, if you participate in it, would also be very sad. No stretch, no grass, no sun, only dark basement. Okay, maybe do a few exercises, you know. We're gonna be checking out this new streamer, Fabulich. Again, I don't know how they are. I've never raided into them before, but we're gonna, you know, take a chance on meeting someone new. So I hope you guys have a good evening. I won't be able to see you tomorrow, but I will see you on Thursday for us to draw some Pokemon. We're going to be drawing Pokemon. I don't know any Pokemon, so I'm going to try to guess what they look like by their names and their type. And I hope you guys will join me for a fun night of doodling. All right? Love you guys. Please take care. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Bye.